Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's Tech Talk time, once again, for the good old Sabbath. Happy Easter for everybody who's celebrating it. This time we're doing a bit of brunch, and then also we're going to be doing some cakes and things like that, which will be quite nice. So hopefully you have a good weekend, a good break, and all that good stuff. Remember, if you want your comments in the Tech Talk next week, make sure to stick them in the comment section of this video. We do record them on Fridays on Twitch, and then they go up on Sundays. So if you want to see stuff early, you can see it on Fridays, but it doesn't really matter too much. Nice to see you, 9969791. Hopefully you're doing good today. So yeah, it's been an interesting week. I'm trying out a new mic, as you can see right here. This one should be a little bit clearer than the other one, but not really clearer. The main thing it does is it removes a lot of the background noise. So it means that the quality of the microphone should be a little bit higher, even if it doesn't seem it too much. On my end, it makes a lot of difference. So that it makes it easier to actually to edit and do all that stuff. So it's really good. The CS major has also been on, which has been really cool to watch and really cool to see. Hey Noah, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. And yeah, we've just been playing a ton of Naval. So with the event going on, spaded pretty much all of the 5.7 British vehicles apart from the Glorious. Spaded the Ioba and got halfway through the Fanatical before I gave up for now. For Italy, we did the Eugenio di Savoia Montecuccoli, and now we're on to the Bolzano. And then also, we'll probably do the good old New Orleans for the Americans. But to start off with, we do have to do the RAF decal, so we'll do this little weird lineup that we have here. So yeah, let's get into the Tech Talk, where we go just through a bunch of different stuff and have a bit of fun with it. First of all, we have Maxwell doing the timestamps. It's very kind of him. Very nice of doing general stuff, so it's really good to see, different people doing the timestamps. As I said, if people want stuff for doing the timestamps, I can always pick up some games for them, which is what we've been doing. I see all this stuff as kind of, lost leaders in a way. So it's more about just, having fun and getting a bit of chats out there. And then for the rest of the stuff, we can just, have a bit of fun. No more background noise, meaning we'll never hear the garbage truck again. You still might, but I think they've changed the time when they do their routes over here. And then also at the same time, when you used to hear it back in the day, that's when I was at the different place, right? I was at the apartment, where now it's all good. So you probably will hear trucks, but it'll be a different truck. And then, which naval tree do you like the most of the Blue Water Tech? And good afternoon. Good afternoon, Shadow Doggies. America. Definitely America. America is the nicest by far. But thank you to Maxwell. It's very kind of him. So, if you want to do the timestamps, even if multiple people do the timestamps, I don't mind giving, multiple things out to people. So yeah, pretty much as simple as that. Oh, I need to unplug my wireless mouse here. There we go. So then we have Mimesis. Also we've been watching the CS2 major, so that's been really fun. The Copenhagen one. Highly recommend it if you're into competitive gaming. It's really fun to watch. I would really love to see the OM War Thunder and also the Tirpitz. Well, the Tirpitz is ready to go. I gotta be careful with these words. The Tirpitz model is good and ready to go. Whereas the rest of it, who knows? Maybe it won't be fully finished. But yeah, so the Tirpitz will come. Definitely. The Gaijin will come, the Bismarck will come. All of those big German battleships and battle cruisers will come. The only real thing to kind of have a look at and think about is how will they be introduced in the game? Will it be piecemeal, or will it be all bangers at the same time from different nations? And that is the bit that we're a little bit, unsure on at the end of the day. So these types of vehicles will come. The OI is one of those which I think will just eventually turn up, and I think it's good to do so, actually. It's a type of vehicle which in general always sparks kind of chat and talk, kind of like the TOG, right? But the difference between the OI and the TOG is that the TOG, we have pretty good information on it, even if some of the information out there is a little bit skew with. But when it comes to the OI, yeah, it's very hard to find, I suppose, what would be classed as like good information on it. You know, at this time. So I think that's why, you know, Gaijin have kind of stayed away from adding stuff like that, just because of the fact that it's going to cause controversy, and also it becomes a gimme, where's my kind of thing. But at least over the last little bit, they seem to have been a lot less down that area. So I think we will get those things going forward. Like, now that they've added the TOG, now that they've added a lot of stuff, and also the general thoughts, at least that what I've seen around like a lot of those like types of vehicles, the more general thoughts I've seen from people are like, oh well, you know, they can just add them in, it doesn't really matter too much. And I think that's, you know, that's obviously good for those vehicles. I don't see a lot of pushback against them like I used to do. Like back in the day, there was a ton of pushback against those types of vehicles and the idea of like adding them into the game, because of like the balance and stuff like that and the problems. But as these games expand and as they go forward, like that that type of thing eventually disappears, because it has to, because the game has to constantly expand, it has to constantly go forward, so you have to kind of change those general limits, at least, you know, from what you see. So for me, when I look at that type of thing, I don't see I don't see the fact that it's gonna, you know, not turn up. I feel like it's one of those things that will turn up, and it will turn up in a big way, whether it's in like an update, you know, proto or whatever you want to call it. It's not something that they're gonna shy away from, like in any way, shape, or form. So it should be quite nice to see at some point, and hopefully, you know, people can have a good time with it. If not, then, you know, that kind of sucks, but it is how it is. Like, for me, it's just an inevitability is probably the word that I would like to use, where, oh my god, what the hell is going on? Whoa, okay. Well, Jesus. I forgot what it's like playing British, like, little things. You just get hammered by everything because you just have no survivability. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that at the end of the day, like, that stuff will get added. The only question is, how do you add it, right? Like, stuff like the Lerva we talked about previously, and, you know, other vehicles like that, like, how do you actually add them to the game so they make the most sense? And that's going to be the question that goes around different people's heads, and how do you do it, you know? So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Hey Juan, I see you, Wahoo. Hopefully you're doing good. Then we have Deuce and a Half. I 100% agree with Canadians' view on how Japanese sexualize minors. I hate that in their media. I find it disgusting that the middle-aged men who are the writers and animators feel the need to include shit like a camera angle set up from below a high schooler's skirt. Yeah, it's not just Japanese. It's all over the place, unfortunately. And there's been very, very big pushes over the last few decades to try and kind of normalize that type of thing through many, even just like universities and stuff like that. And it's absolutely disgusting. So yeah, it's one of those things I don't really go into too much because it's not, it's obviously not generally part of the content, but there are, like, you know, obviously people out there who are trying to make that stuff as acceptable as possible to go through. That being said, as a huge tank nerd, I've watched Girls on Panzer, and I loved how well detailed the tanks were, thanks in part to the Chieftain, and the fact that you get so many varied tanks in one place and while running too. There are a few films or TV shows that include such a varied selection of cool and rare tanks. I don't think I've ever got to see a Churchill tank gunning about on the big screen, or an L3 tankette. And while I did find myself scoffing at some of the ridiculous speeds and physics, they're in a show. Well, yeah, it's an animated show, right? I can't look past because I can actually see a cool tank in motion. I think it would be really cool to get the camos. Let's just do this. I think it would be really cool to get the camos. Oh god. I need to go back to base. The camos of those on screen in the game, and the same time I'd love to see stuff like the Tiger 131 skin in game, instead of having to use a War Thunder Live skin. I'm a big fan of the Churchill and getting a nice green camo. Sorry, I do technically have to play at the same time. Don't want to let my team down, you know? Even if it is with little paper shots. I'm a big fan of the Churchill, and getting an ice cream camo like the GOP one instead of the horrible scratched up olive drab one we have in game would be nice. As some other commentator I saw on War Thunder said, the Churchill Mark 7s look like they've been sat in a scrapyard. Yeah, they really need to redo their paint schemes. The titular Panzer IV has a really unique brown skin too. There was you remember when they redid like the Dunkelgrau on the German tanks? You know, when they redid like all of that stuff, where they improved it and made it look nicer. I feel like when it comes to the other stuff around the place, they should really do that too. So, like there was a lot of like kind of default skins that they've changed or improved over time, and one of them that is really odd and really weird is the British skins. Like if you don't know what he's talking about, so I'll kind of show you in this one. So if you have a look at the Churchill in the game, like it's like base skin. This one. Like if you take off all the bushes, like even if you put the conditions like full, it's got so many like little etched things and like nothing kind of going on with it. And it would be nice just to get like a standard one that wasn't like that. Like even this one, right? Like you can see all like the scratches and the scraps on it and stuff. And it kind of looks like it's been sat around for ages, not really doing a lot. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Long story short, I like tanks and want to use the ones that I'm a fan of from the big screen or famous historical battles in the game. Yeah, I get that. But like, as I said previously, it's like the Strike Witches stuff, right? Yeah, all that stuff can be true, but unfortunately, like the actual base of the area was no good. I think that we can appreciate the mutual love of tanks that both communities share without glorifying the questionable Japanese culture that surrounds the show that comes from there. I haven't watched GUP in a while, but for an anime, it's comparatively light on the sexualization of girls in the show. There are only 3 scenes that come to mind. Ranging 1 season and several movies. One where one of the elder student council girls is in a bikini while washing off a tank. Another, for a few frames, some foreign students and the background characters have quite a lot of cleavage in their uniforms. And the last one that I know is in an episode I haven't actually watched, so I can't comment on. I think they go into a lake or beach or something. I just know that they're in swimsuits on the cover. To be honest, this is pretty tame for Japan standards. There are shower scenes in Girls and Panzers. You must have just completely forgotten about them. Don't really understand why people forget about these things. Maybe it's just like a trick in the head. But yeah, I can't actually show it on screen. But yeah, I had this issue every time I bring up Girls and Panzer. I have this issue every time where like people just have a memory lock where they don't remember these things. So here, I'll do it really quickly. Any sexualization of minors in any concept is untenable and should be untenable because of that simple fact. You know what's really interesting about funny about stuff when it comes to things like that? There is actually a funny site called Anime Bath Scenes Wiki. And I brought this up last time when this was brought up. There you go. So there's the Girls and Panzer tab. There is 3 in episode 3, 1 in episode 7, and then in chapter 3 of a show, or chapter 3 of the manga, I believe, there is a bath scene. In the movie, there is also a shower scene with the underage girls, and then in the manga, once again, there is a bunch of shower scenes. This is literally just the shower scenes and nothing else. So I have no idea why people forget about this. It sucks, and I am bored of it. And yeah, it's just silly. So it's your classic anime stuff. Please don't make excuses for it. There's no need to. It's just how it goes, you know? And the point is, at the end of the day, stuff like this, will continue to happen. Stuff like this will, stuff like this will continue to be like in the media and around it. But that doesn't mean that I'll just like sit there and just say like nothing about it. And it's the same as I said with the Strike Witches stuff. We brought up the Strike Witches stuff many times. War Thunder DMM did a collaboration with them. And here, you know what? How about we just look at let's just look at the video. Screw it. Why not? So we can just refresh everybody's memory on these things. Just to show how pretty much disgusting this stuff is. I don't know how else to put it. There we go. So we'll do it on the big screen for you. Just to let you know this exists, as always. And just to see how pretty disgusting the whole thing is. So this is why I don't like sit here and just like placate, or I don't be like, oh yeah, this is all fine, this is everything. Here you go. So all of these characters are underage. That they're gonna show. This was an official kind of like partnership between War Thunder DMM, which are the guys who run the Japanese side of War Thunder, and good old Strike Witches. So you can see here, the camo that you got. The camos, they're a bit weird. Like you can see here on it, once again, just showing the ass of an underage character. I believe this one might be 12. Funnily enough, this anime kind of screwed up because they actually put the age of their characters. So you can straight up just call it pedophilia. So that's quite easy, isn't it? So there you go. That's really interesting, isn't it? I don't know what to say about that one. Like it's pretty ridiculous. And then also on top of this, you had other characters which were involved. There you go. Completely ridiculous that this exists, and shows how unfortunately it isn't just people like, oh look, we enjoy like the military vehicles. How cool is that? Yeah, we enjoy it too. Yeah. If I actually did stuff like this, like on most platforms, I would just get my stuff taken down. I mean, come on, man. Are we serious? Like, do I have to say anything? Right, so that's on the Spitfire. And one... like... Just remember, though, it isn't about sexualizing minors. It's just about the cool camos and the cool characters. It's not about sexualizing minors. Give it a break, would you? Why do you think... This was an official campaign between War Thunder DMM and Strike Witches. This is on YouTube and it isn't age verified. Just to let you know. So yeah, like every time this stuff is brought up, right? As you can see, it is not just about the cool camos. It is not just about celebrating historical vehicles. There is a reason why that exists. And then on top of it, there is a reason why they added in those like body pillows, but didn't put their ages on them. And that should set off an alarm in your head, right? That should set off a big alarm in your head. So anytime we discuss these things, I mean, anytime we discuss these things, I just remember this, and I remember all the other things which have gone along with it over the years, right? And then I remember people who push for these things over and over again, and what parts of the communities that they're from, right? Oh, you see how that one only... See, also a little bit of a hidden thing, right? Did you see how the actual, like, thing itself had more time for the over-sexualized characters instead of the under-sexualized characters? So if you have a look at some of these, they're around for, like, maybe a second or 2 seconds. This one is just a blip and then gone. Because nobody's interested in it because it's not hyper-sexualized. Come on, man. We're better than this. Like... So yeah. Oh, and once again, yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so... I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, just keep telling me it's not sexualized and it's not aimed at certain demographics or anything like that. Like, just keep... All these characters are underage. All of them. So yeah, just don't bother with it. Like, I get the idea that you just want to see fun camos and you just want to see everything that's, you know, really cool with the show and everything like that. But the fact that that exists, you cannot escape. The fact that all of that exists, you cannot run away from. Okay? You can't run away from it. So what do? What's the plan? Do you just deal with it and say, oh, well, happens to the best of us? Or do you sit down and you go, oh, maybe there's something quite insidious about these things? Right? Maybe it isn't just nice camos. Maybe there is an underlying problem there, which is causing these things, which is absolutely disgusting. Okay? So, we've had this conversation for many years. It is a horrific conversation to have, and it's a horrific one to go through. And I'm very bored of it. Like, I have a zero tolerance policy for any of that stuff. Zero tolerance. Because I've seen people, and I have known people, and still know people who have been abused over many years. And many of these things do not help at all. And it's just sad. So we have Jan P. What about the girls in Panzer out of the title? Yeah, there we go. It's like a trigger word, isn't it? Crazy. So then we have Shasavi. Lol says he doesn't agree with it and uses it as clickbait at the same time. No, not really. It's just what's talked about in the thing, right? Like, it's like basically the titles of the tech talk are pretty simple. They're things that we put into. He was like the whole point of the title of something is to tell you what's in it, not what you agree with or what you don't agree with. So I don't know. I can discuss things that I agree with, that I disagree with, and that I'm neutral about, which is how this works. So it's not a clickbait thing. If I wanted to clickbait stuff, I would do it much more efficiently than... right, okay, put it like this. If I'm clickbaiting to get people to click on something, to talk about something of that, so let's say Goes and Panzer, if I wanted to follow that thought through in my head, I would then talk about it positively, right? Because then you guys who got clickbaited to watch it, would then watch it, and then want to watch more of my stuff. So I would placate you, wouldn't I? So just use your head a bit when it comes to this stuff. So... Chris Dewey, TEC, Rommel was not a card-carrying Nazi. He was not a member of the Nazi party, which was a rarity considering the position in the German... Oh my... Oh! Right, okay. Sorry. It's going to be one of those days, is it? I don't know where this idea came from, but yeah. Let's see. Where do I have to find it? Between the wars. Let's see. Relationship with Nazism. I always enjoy that one. See, this is what I mean by whitewashing history, by the way. If we're going to use Wikipedia as a source, let's use Wikipedia as a source so we can have a bit of fun. Because that's exactly what's happening here, and I'm really sick of whitewashing. Especially people like this, okay? Rommel's views on propaganda, yeah. I enjoy it when it works in my way. Here we go. Right. Let's have a read through Wikipedia, because it's everybody's favorite thing, right? Rommel was not a member of the Nazi Party. Rommel and Hitler had a close and genuine, if complicated, personal relationship. Rommel, as other Wehrmacht officers, welcomed the Nazis' rise to power. Right. Numerous historians state that Rommel was one of Hitler's favorite generals, and that his close relationship with the dictator benefited both his interwar and wartime career. Robert Centino describes Rommel as not apolitical, and writes that he owed his career to Hitler, to whom Rommel's attitude was worshipful, with Messenger agreeing that Rommel owed his tank command, his hero status, and his other promotions to Hitler's interference and power. Right. So the guy who was a fighter in the First World War, who benefited from the rise of the Nazi Party in the 1930s, who then went on to be one of the generals for said party, and also benefited from everything that went on, right? Because it wasn't on paper that he wasn't part of the party itself, even though every single elite had to agree and be fully on board with all of the ideas of the party, because that's how dictatorships and fascistic regimes work, right? Okay? He wasn't a Nazi because he didn't sign a piece of paper. So it's all good. Morons. Like, I don't know how else to put it, man. This is like the whole technicality thing. Like, it's the whole imagine if you like kind of sat there, right? And you describe somebody who is just, I don't know, imagine if you have somebody who like talks about, okay, so what I want to do is I want to eradicate this set of people, okay? Want to get rid of them. I want to also, you know, completely kind of bring everything under the government, and I want to run everything as efficiently as possible through the government means, and everybody has to answer to that government, and then also at the same time, you know, make sure that people are actually forced to do, you know, whether it's manual labor or whatever for the government, and your tax rate is 80% while you do that stuff. Okay? And then I go, oh, by the way, I'm a libertarian. So do you take my word that I'm a libertarian? Or do you take my word from my actions and what actually went on? This is the difference between a lot of conversations that I feel like we have online. Right? There are people who just sit there and go, okay, this is the one fact that says this. Remove all the context. This is what we're focusing on, right? And then there's others who try and piece together all of the different stuff and work out what's going on. And it's a pain in the ass dealing with it, man. And once again, it is one of those things which in the context of War Thunder really doesn't matter. Rommel was disenchanted about Hitler as time wore on. His ideal of Hitler was slowly diminished and disobeyed many orders through pretending he never got the message. He sent Jewish prisoners to Italy to avoid them going to war camps in Germany. Yeah, he also sent Jewish prisoners to the camps, so don't even bother. You know who also like starts being you know who generally like people start like, you know, losing a bunch of like faith in and everything? People who keep losing battles. People who keep losing operations and lose wars. So yeah, it's not a surprise. You could have the best leader in history, and then if you start losing like a bunch of key things and people just keep annihilating you, like what are you gonna do? Like, guess what? You can go along with somebody and you can have a very close relationship of them, and over time, if they start making different and bad decisions compared to what you thought was the right thing at the end, then yeah, times can change, which is what happened. And also what happens when you read a lot of the good old generals' notes after the Second World War, where it just turns out they just blamed everybody else instead of themselves for what went on. That was one of the biggest, for me, that was one of the biggest issues in history, and one of the times where I realized that history can be incredibly politicized. When the Cold War started, and at least from a Western point of view, they decided to try and exonerate a bunch of bloody German generals because they needed Germany and also a lot of Europe on their side against the fucking Soviet threat. It was disgusting to read about, man. Like, it's so ridiculous. But yeah, relationships can break down over time. It's fantastic. Does that mean that Rommel was not lockstep with all of the decisions of the party that led him to power and the party to power? These are two separate things. Sorry, you cannot be exonerated from those things. Sorry, you can't get your profile picture in the game of him. You can get nondescript number 5 German from World War II. Because the moment that you start putting stuff like that in game, you then have a symbol in the game that people can use to go after other people, which is just a pain in the ass to deal with. So why give people ammunition, right? There's so many different factors to this. But at the end of the day, was he a good person? No. The only way that you can actually read it from any point of view that is positive from him is that he wanted power. And by agreeing at certain points with certain people, he was able to get that power, right? That's the only way you can read it in a nice light, which is awful. It's actually terrible. But yeah. Luckily, the History Channel and also many YouTubers and many other people over the years have made him out to be some tactical genius, so maybe that's what he was doing. But that's still terrible. Like, it's so bad, man. But yeah, at the end of the day, they're not going to do it. So, it really doesn't matter. Like, simple as. And we have Alex. What are your thoughts on Sweden only getting a premium as a vehicle from the last major update? Just for reference, I checked to see if this has happened before in the past, and I went all the way back to the update X for Strike. This is the first time that this has happened. Of course, it probably happened before X for Strike, but I was still disappointed that Sweden didn't even get a dumb little low-tier vehicle. I was wondering what your thoughts were on this happening. At the end of the day, like, they do add at least one thing to pretty much every nation into the game. You know, every update. But there are many nations over the years that have just got, like, one premium or one, like, little vehicle here and there. It's usually something that, you know, just kind of goes around. Especially if you have a think about the last update. You know, the last update, Sweden got a ton of stuff. Like, they got access to Sweden got access to the STRV 122B plus. They also got access to what was the other one? They got access to the Gripen. So that's a pretty solid update, right? But they've always tried over the last little bits to try and give everybody at least one thing every update. And if you have a look at many updates in the past, there are, you know, different nations that only get like one or two things, and that's really about it. But at the end of the day, it's not really that surprising. I don't really mind about it, because as I said, it kind of happens to everybody, where you'll just have updates where you won't get anything. But since we have like 5 major updates a year, plus we have like all of the other stuff, like the events and the battle pass stuff, you know for a fact that, you know, Sweden will get something as you go along. What I'd recommend, as always in times like this, is to grind other nations. So instead of focusing on one nation, focus on many, so you'll never be disappointed with an update, because you'll always have something to focus on, or always have something to sort out. Nice to see you, Hunter Shark. We're doing Coastal to get the RAF thing done, and then we're going to do the Bolzano. That's basically it. But yeah, so it's just, if you have a look at other updates, instead of just focusing on Sweden, have a look at other nations. Like Japan's one of those to really look at, because Japan always just gets one random vehicle a lot of the time, and that'll give you kind of an idea of, you know, what goes on about, you know. Hey Creeper Killer, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. So yeah, that's at least something to have a look at as we go around. Then we have Victor Corp. Hi Tech, I just got the Sheridan with the 76 from the BP. Any thoughts, recommendations for the best performing lineup at 6-7? The lineup would be something like 3 tanks plus the Sheridan, 1 M42, 1 plane, thanks in advance. I would remove the M42 and I would put in 2 planes instead of the M42. So P51H, F2G if you have it, or A1H or AM1, AD2, AD4. All of those are pretty good. All of those are great. The T-34 has to be in the lineup because it's just fantastic, right? It's a very, very powerful vehicle. Works really well. And then on top of that, I would probably bring, since if you're using the Sheridan as a first spawn, so if you're not, you know, bringing anything else as like second spawns, well, if you're using that as a first spawn, then T-34 and then Ontos. If you're using it as a second or third spawn, I would bring the M56 instead. So in a down tier, you are going to do really well in the Sheridan, and then you can follow up with the T-34. In an up tier, if you're going to spawn in the Sheridan first, you can use the M50 Ontos to be able to, you know, do some damage to different things. And as I said, you can get enough points with the Sheridan to be able to get into a plane to do anti-air stuff. That's something that I've done for a long time with stuff like the P51H and the F2G. You don't have to limit yourself to using something like an M42, and you could bring along like two other light tanks if you wanted, like the Scorpion and the Ontos. Both of those vehicles are not great second, third spawn vehicles just because of the cast threat, but they're better options than, you know, some of the other things. If you have any of the premium 6.7s, so if you have the T30 or the M6, I'd probably bring along one of those, or the T26E5. T26E5 is a solid vehicle. You know, it works very well. So, yeah, I would. So if I was doing a lineup, I would do F2G slash AD4. Then I would do the P51H. Then after that, obviously the 76 Sheridan, the T-34, the M6A2E1, and the T26E5. And then you could, if you don't have the M6, then you could bring in the Ontos, or you could bring in something else. That's what I would do. I think it would work pretty well. Don't think there'll be any issues with it. Generally, stuff like that would work pretty good. It's 6-7 America is one of those lineups I've used a lot for events, and generally, you know, it's pretty fun to play. Right, there we go. The question is, what happened to Grip and C variant that's supposed to come in the last update? It got added to Hungary. Ooh. Crazy, right? They did say there would be a Grip and C. Just turned out it wasn't for Sweden. They did say that Grip and C was coming. I just don't think they ever said for Sweden. Which is a bit of a dick move, you know. They could have also just added it to Sweden. But I suppose they wanted people to play Hungary. And get it through. So then we have D. Austin Vaughn. Or Vaughan. Hey Tech. Hello. Guten Morgen. I know you've been speaking about the Black Hole and Naval 5-7 in War Thunder. However, my friends and I have been playing Realistic Naval immensely for the event. And we have been getting up tier to 6367. The vast majority of the time. I was playing Naval for a couple of hours every day leading up to the event, and at 5-7 up tiers were incredibly rare until the event started in my experience. Perhaps the difference between Naval Arcade and Realistic. Maybe people now only play the highest BRs for more event progress. Yeah, pretty much. You've hit the nail on the head. Also, I was doing 5-7 Britain like you, but after spading the entire BR, I'm now using 6063s and having troubles with the guns as the primaries, as the primary and secondary armaments have very different ballistics trajectories. Any tips? Unfortunately, there isn't really when that issue arises. There's not really a way of trying to help aiming with that. It's because, you know, if you're using them at the same time, which at least for the larger vehicles usually you do, then, you know, you're not going to be accurate on one and you're going to be off on the other. So it's just a bit of a pain, innit? Like, I've seen it quite a lot with many different vehicles. I have the issue as well with a few of them, which kind of sucks. So yeah, right now there isn't really a way of dealing with that unless instead of using like the old system, where you without using the new system where you control them both at the same time, you quick switch between them, which people used to do. That's really the only way you can do it, and it's still not very good. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people playing high BRs just to get the event done as quick as possible. There's also a lot of people playing the SKR7, just trying to get stuff done. And yeah, there's a lot of people playing 502, which is why, you know, there's a few little areas of it. The main issue with 5.7 with Naval is if you have a look at all the vehicles that are at 5.3 or 5.7, they're just jumbled. They don't make any sense. Like, the Japanese 5.7s are not 5.7s, they're 5.3s. Right? They're 5.7s because they have more penetration and they have very good torpedoes. But there are vehicles at low BRs in Japan which have better or more torpedoes and also better firing angles, and at the same time don't have too much of an issue with the penetration. So like it just kind of sucks that is the case, that where you have these vehicles in horrific places that don't really make any sense. And then if you have a look at like the British 5.7s, there are so many of them that, like, the York compared to like the Norfolk, or the, you know, the London compared to the York, or the Glorious versus all of them, or the Southampton. They all have varying different like things. Like the one which has access to the 6 8-inch guns instead of the 8-inch guns, it also has the worst secondaries. It doesn't get HEVT. Right? So it's just worse in both ways. Is it faster? No, it's about the same. Does it have more armor? No, it has less. And it has way less survivability. So why are they at the same BR? One is fundamentally worse than the other. There's no redeeming qualities. And since I've been playing like the 5.3s and also the 5.0s for Italy, that also doesn't make any sense. And then you couple that with the fact that, especially for Japan, the Miyoko is at 5.7. Which is disgusting. That thing's at 5.7. That thing can't be at 5.7. It should not be allowed at 5.7. It's a 6.0. but it's just a 5.7. So I don't know. I got no idea what's going on. It's very confusing to me. You know, maybe one of the things about these types of events, which is good, is you'll probably have a lot more, like, play of certain vehicles, so therefore they can get more stats on it, and then they can, you know, they can make some decisions on what should be, you know, what should be used and what shouldn't be used. But right now, it's just like, Jesus, it's crazy. Like, what's been happening in Naval to me. I feel like every nation I play, all of their stuff is completely different from the last. So like none of it like makes any sense. Like from a balance point of view or from any like point of view like that. Kaboom. So yeah. It's just really confusing to me. So hopefully that changes. Hopefully that is different. It might just be a Naval Arcade's realistic thing. You know, that might be the case, or it might just be another reason. Like, we're gonna have to find out, right? Have I played Russia 5.7? That's next on the list. But I would take pretty much all of the 5.3s, 5.3 American ships over the 5.7 Japanese ones. And obviously Italy's a bit all over the place, but yeah. It is a bit crazy. So yeah. It's just, the area is just a little bit all over the place, right? Alright, let's see. So we have Kakaprut. Hi, Tech. About personalization, are uniforms for open vehicles or having commander pilots with small bonus pitches a possibility, according to you? Those kind of features could be a little change to approach the game by spending some time to unlock a new crew commander or a new uniform for a crew, visible in the hangar FX. Yeah, of course. We actually have... There are certain vehicles that actually have unique pilot models and stuff like that already. So the Kisarazu, for example, has a female pilot in it, which is kind of cool. So I don't know if you can see it, but like, yeah, it's really hard to show. But yeah, this actually has like a female pilot thing in it. Just because, you know, the Kisarazu and the advertisement for it was for, you know, the whole like female side of things and trying to get more people into it. So this vehicle actually has unique pilot models, or at least it did when it launched. I still think it does. So stuff like that is, yeah, of course it can be done. I don't know whether they just want to save it for premium stuff or they want to save it for other things, but yeah, that can work and that can be done. No reason why it couldn't be. So that's something that would be nice to see. Hopefully they could bring stuff in. They'd probably have something. They would probably do something with trying to monetize it. But at the end of the day, it's still fine to do, right? I think it would be good if they do more stuff like that. And we have Maxwell. Hello, Tech. Hey. About the UI thing and trees not fitting, what if we just drop the line idea and just add sub-tree vehicles in a tech tree on the part of the tree they would be if they were normal vehicles? Hell, they could even put it all in folders, make them easier to grind. Well, that's pretty much what they did with Finland and South Africa, right? So technically with South Africa, you have like the line of South African vehicles, but there is a bunch of other vehicles which are just there. And they're in a line which isn't in the South African line. So the ZT3A2, you know, the AA, the Roycat AA, right? They're in their own line, and they're in like the different line from the subtree. So yeah, that can be done. And same with Finland with like the ZSU-57-2 and the Shilka. So there is, I think, one of the things that's important is they want to try and create a little bit of different identity for these types of things. So you want to actually make it seem like it is its own unique thing. So you want to try and like separate it off, but also at the same time you want to make it so, you know, it's a little bit similar, so it makes more sense grinding. But yeah, at the end of the day, they could easily do that, right? Like they could easily just plonk them in the lines that are already in the game. And I'm pretty sure that's what they'll do. I don't think they'll do like the tab idea or anything like that. I think overall that's what they'll focus on. And I don't think that's a bad idea. I think in general, the way that the tech tree is now is fine. There's a lot of vehicles which are very clumped up, and we're gonna have to see some research reductions pretty soon, and then we can kind of like have a chat about, you know, what is good and what is bad from that point of view. But generally, I think the tech trees are in a pretty good place. I wouldn't want like more lines to grind or anything like that, because the more lines that you put in, the more people will... Adding more lines doesn't reduce the grind. Okay, so all lines do is it means that now you have to go down another separate line, which is different from the lines that already exist, to be able to get to the next tier of vehicles. So if anything, more lines actually extends the grind. So you want less lines and you want more folded vehicles, right? That's right now. That's like the key to all of this. So by adding more lines, you increase the grind for people. And one of the things that, you know, don't ever want to do is to increase the grind for people, because then people get annoyed. So you want to do it in incremental changes where you increase the grind without people realizing, and then you do a big sweeping change where you reduce the grind and you reduce the RP back to where it was previously, and then go, hey guys, look, the grind is reduced. Which technically it is, because now you need less per each vehicle, but you've added more vehicles in the game. So the grind actually hasn't changed. If anything, it might have become slightly harder, but it looks like it's gone... it looks like it's better. So, yeah, welcome to messaging. And I actually did a video on Friday, which isn't out by the time we're recording the Tech Talk, which is all about messaging, and it's all about Enlisted and how it's all going. Do you know if Gaijin will offer discounts on Easter? I feel like if they would have already done it, so probably not, unfortunately. So yeah, they could just add them to the specific trees. The only issue then is identity. They do want to create some kind of identity for these nations, because the whole point in adding them is for people to get hyped about it, people to get interested in it, and then, you know, kind of push forward and do different things, right? So yeah, spin, positioning, all those things, yeah. And it's all about making sure to get it right and not wrong. Which is why you say stuff like, hey friends, or you use like pouty cat pictures when you're apologizing, because you want people to feel bad for you. Just terrible little tricks like that, which are just awful. But yeah, so I think in general, the way that they've been doing the research stuff's pretty good the last little bit. And they've obviously come up with a solution or come up with what they're already going to do. So whatever it is, I think it'll be fine. I'm not really too worried about it. Usually those things aren't too bad, and they're pretty standard. But is there anybody who thinks like the tech trees themselves, the way that they're set up, is bad right now? Or, you know, would people want changes to make them better? I think overall, like, each line has its identity, each nation has its identity. Like, you know, it seems okay. Just in general. Then we have Elverman. Walking tanks were already in the 2015 April Fool's event titled March to Victory. Are you sure the leaked mechs were not test models for that event? The leaked mechs came out in 2021, and as a person who was around in 2015, those mechs were different to the mechs that were leaked in 2021. The other thing as well is a lot of the vehicles that those mechs are actually built upon were not in the game in 2015. So it would be kind of weird if they were building something off of something that wasn't already in the game in that way. But yeah, so I mean there's a possibility they could have been, but I highly doubt it. some of the mechs were actually used in an Enlisted April Fools. So that's where some of them kind of turned up, which was nice. And, you know, they functioned pretty cool and they were pretty nice. I enjoyed actually playing them. It was quite good. Even though they were very annoying to kill. But yeah, it's kind of fun. But yeah, so it would be very odd that something leaked in 2021 was the test for something in 2015, but it's also not unheard of. Like, you know, it could definitely happen. I just think when I remember the mechs from 2015 and I look at these new mechs, well, not new, but you know, like a few years old, those mechs are so much more technical than the ones from 2015. Those 2015 ones, there was like a few of them, and you know, they were very simple in the way that they were set up. And the thing that kind of made me think they were going to, you know, do a new event like that was the fact that they removed them from the game files. So yeah, you're not able to actually get access to them now. So then we have Atomic Vengeance. A long time ago I made a forum post trying to get the Australian Leopard 105 into the game, but it didn't go well. So next Tech Talk, think you could cover the Australian Leopard 105 and if it would be a good fit for the British stream. We are actually going to cover some Australian videos. Sorry, some Australian vehicles pretty soon actually. So look forward to that because there are a lot of them which are really cool and really interesting, and it would be cool to see them when it comes to the game. I think overall it would be a positive thing for those types of things to turn up. So yeah, we'll go over them, and don't worry, we'll have a bit of fun. I think that the Leopard 105 probably isn't the best pick because we already have two of them already. So we already have the German one, and we also have the Italian one. So you'd want something which is a little bit more unique, just to get people kind of interested in it. But it's definitely something that could happen, right? I think it would be really nice to see a lot of the Australian vehicles in the game. I feel like they're very similar to, not South Africa, but they're a lot more similar to something like Sweden, where with Finland, sorry, where with Finland you have a few unique vehicles, and then you have like the kind of mainstay vehicles that they could use. Oh yeah, there's also the Swedish one. Sorry, there's actually 3 105s in the game. There's the Norwegian one, the Italian one, and the German one. But yeah, so I'm going to talk about them next week and have a bit of fun. So it should be quite nice. So we have Gulag Kulak. Great name. Love that one. Let's just bomb this guy real quick. According to historical sources, the top speed of the F-89 was 1,038 kilometers per hour. The start card in War Thunder says 1,011 kilometers per hour. In game, it redlines at 870 and the wings break off at 920. Do you think Gaijin will ever fix this issue? It really depends on a few factors. The first one that it depends on is it IAS? Is it TAS? Is it what altitude was it done at? Is also another one, right? So like you have all of these like different things that it could be, which is why, you know, stuff like that isn't always as simple as it may seem. So yeah, the best thing to do with situations like that is, first of all, to have a look at the sources that they're using, because usually they're actually on the forums. They usually post like the flight stats that they use, and then also on top of that, what you should do is you should just bug report it if you think it's wrong, right? Like for me, the F-89s, like I'm not really too bothered about. I don't know if they're right in the game, if they're wrong in the game. Historically, I do know they're under BR'd by quite a lot, but yeah, I remember back in the day, one of the big things about the F-89s was the whole like debacle about, oh well, should it have the should it have the rockets, you know, the proximity rockets, the F-89D? That was always the thing that was looked at. But for me, it don't matter. Like is it gonna be? Is it right? Is it wrong? Don't know. So the best thing to do is to ask the people who look after this stuff, and you know, they'll say whether it's right or wrong. And maybe they'll have some other sources that are around the place. Who knows? I don't know. You can only try. So we have Cinnamon Noah. It's odd that you're not allowed gambling sponsors on YouTube, considering a lot of YouTube ads in the UK are gambling orientated. Yeah, crazy, right? A lot of the ads I get over here are sports gambling. But yeah, so it's there's a lot of things on YouTube which are like that, which are rules for thee and not for me. And the way it's kind of been said and the way that it works is kind of annoying. But it's just, you know, it's standard company stuff. So what YouTube will say is they have proper vetting when it comes to what adverts go onto their products, and they can completely control that, whereas they cannot control fully what people get sponsored by in videos. Therefore they do not have direct control of it. So since they have direct control of the other things, and you know, they have control of their central business, they do not have technically control of everything that gets uploaded on the platform, right? Even though they can and will be castigated for it existing. So it's just one of those that happens. So it's one of those that's pretty simple. It happens with a lot of products though. Like it's and it's very annoying, as I said, but there's nothing you can do about it. There's plenty of other things that are like that too as well. So then we have the Carnophage. If you like the World War II mecha tanks, you may want to check out Dust 47, Gear Krieg, or Conflict 47. Are these like TV shows? Let's see. Conflict 47. It's the first supplement of the it's like a Warlord game. I'm gonna have to have a look at these. It might be fun. could be quite nice to go around. Like, it should be nice. Always enjoy different stuff like that. So yeah, we can have a look. So we have MJ. Hi Tech. Hope you had a good week. Yeah, it was pretty good. You know, got this microphone super cheap, so pretty happy with that. And it seems to be working pretty well. And then also at the same time, you know, it's been a pretty chill week when it comes to War Thunder stuff, and you know, sorting it all out. And then, you know, bought a few things, which should be quite fun to do. Right, let's just do this. Yeah, losing my voice a little bit, but nothing too crazy. And I don't think anything's gone negative this week. You know, workouts have been going good, eating's been going good. Looking forward to Easter, just to kind of chill, especially on Monday. I was hoping that War Thunder would announce their April Fool's event today, but it seems like that's not the case. And they're just gonna do everything on Monday, and that sucks because I'm gonna be busy with family stuff on Monday, and I don't know how to fit everything in, so I might have to say no to the family stuff. But we'll see what goes on. Like, I don't know, it's post-COVID. There's so many people who just want to do stuff all the time now, and I understand why, because, you know, they don't want people to be left alone, and, you know, there's a lot of stuff about how, you know, there's these guys who they need help and you need to be around them, and you don't know how long they're going to be around and stuff like that. But sometimes I just want to be by myself and just chill. I still have that thing in my head about just being a caveman and just not having to deal with any of that stuff, and it is just kind of how it is, you know. Yeah, this was the jet ski on the back is something that the Soviets built. It's like it's supposed to go on the ice. It's like a little car which is put forward by a little an aircraft engine. I'm wondering if any variant of the Soviet Berdym will ever get added to the game. As you know, the Berdym had many variants of anti-tank, anti-air, and even infantry support. Yeah, of course it will. Like, the Berdym will make it. You know, it's if the Berdym doesn't make it over all the years that War Thunder's about, I will, I don't know, take a lot of cocaine and just go crazy and have a heart attack while stuffed inside of a prostitute's ass. So it'll be very surprising if it doesn't come. So it's just one of those things which will come eventually, and it'll just happen because there are so many different variants of it. There are so many different little bits of it. As long as they don't add the ones which are just like the 80 gem launchers with just like four missiles on it, which are like keyboard guided, I'll be happy, because like those ones are trash. So like let's not add those, and then let's have a bit of fun with some other ones, and you know, have a good time. That'd be nice. But yeah, the Berdyms or the BRDMs, I'm surprised we haven't seen any of them. But then again, like, think about how long it took just to get a BTR-80 into the game. Like, it took so long for a BTR-80 to turn up, and those ones, once again, dime a dozen, right? There's like millions of them. The other one is the Chaffee with the Type 60 ATM missiles, which has always just been kind of in the mind. That one could be quite fun, which would be nice. Then we have German tanker Johnny. Hello, Tech. Hello. So I've recently got into the submarine mood lately. That's dangerous. Got a model of an oddly painted Gato class, and I've been reading up on various classes from early World War II and Cold War, which eventually led to a shower thought. How would Gaijin implement subs into regular War Thunder? We had the modern ones in one of the April Fools, so we could see them in the future updates. Just how is the question? Would all, if not most, ships and boats have working sonar if they had it? Will some aircraft be able to drop sonar buoys or buoys? Would ships and boats with depth charges and magnetic mines be enough to counter them? Would they be limited to certain BRs and game modes? What's your opinion on the matter? Side note, I know in recent years World of Warships recently implemented them into their game modes, although that's a more arcade style of game. Yes, Naval AB exists in War Thunder, but to what extent the style of gameplay? I'm not worried about submarines being overpowered. I'm worried about submarines being useless in the current state of the game. So if we have a look at the current state of the game, which is the, you know, you have the 3 caps, you gotta cap the caps, and you gotta fight over them and then move from there, which is the standard game mode that has not just been in, you know, naval, it's been in ground for the longest time, and even to an extent aviation, with some of the game modes that they have over there. One of the big issues with the game mode is that you need mobility, and you need mobility to be able to go to different places. Well, submarines don't give you that. They don't give you any mobility, they give you depression, because they're incredibly slow compared to a lot of the vehicles that are out there. In terms of their usability, they could actually have quite a nice usability set in the game. Basically, with the torpedoes, you basically just set up the torpedoes, so it goes bang, 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 and then you just sit there for ages, and then you just do that over and over again. So, what's interesting is we already have that in the game. It's called the Shimakaze. The Shimakaze has been doing that for a long time, and probably way more effectively than any other machine like that would be effective. So I don't really see an issue with that. I just see it more that it doesn't fit the standard type of gameplay that we have. I don't know what they were doing in that event where they tested submarines previously, because what they ended up doing is they just neutered them to death. So they just became fodder for destroyers. And if that's the way that they're envisioning these things, I'm a little bit worried at how that's going to go. And hopefully it isn't that bad kind of going forward. But I think in general, it's at least interesting to think about, right? Like how they're gonna implement that stuff and how they're gonna get it done. But I think overall, I'm not too worried about them adding them in. I think they'll do them piecemeal and they'll put them into the standard game modes. They won't do anything too crazy with them. It's just what is their viability going to be, and are they going to artificially nerf them like they did in the event, to try and make it so they're not as good. But yeah, I'm more worried about the other side of the spectrum, them being useless, not too good. And the next one is from Gulag again, and it's is your PO2 spaded? It was spaded, but I don't know if it is now. Yeah, it's spaded. You can't see it, but here you go. Didn't know if they added EFS to it or not. I actually have both PO2s, the PO2 and the PO2M, so pretty nice to see. So yeah, all sorted. Then we have Big Mushy. Great name. Hey Tech, do you ever see a future where a larger company or publisher buys out Gaijin or War Thunder? I've no idea how much they or their IP would be worth, but it would be something interesting to think about. No, no I don't. Gaijin is already the biggest publisher in Europe, so they would have to get I would feel like that you would have to get some massive conglomerate from China or Tencent, which obviously Gaijin did business with before, or you would have to get like a ridiculously large thing to do it. Like you got to remember, Gaijin's privately funded, right? So it's not a publicly traded asset. So you'd have to buy it out from the people who own it, which is not it just wouldn't happen, because the fact is they're huge. They have so many different offices. They have a ridiculous amount of employees, and the way that they structure everything is a lot more interesting than many other places, right? They actually have a bunch of different, they have a bunch of job openings right now, like a metric amount of them that they're still hiring for. And it would, in order for something like that to happen, like I've said this before when it comes to War Thunder, in order for War Thunder to lose its way, it has absolutely nothing to do with how the game is now or the direction it's going. Because the people who run it now and the people who are doing it right now do a fantastic job at being able to continuously get people in the door and continuously get people to have fun, right? That's something that they're very good at doing, and they've been doing it for years and years, and the game has just been growing and growing and growing. The question is, what happens when somebody like that retires? Or what happens if somebody loses motivation? These types of companies don't get bought out, or because the unless somebody offers them a ridiculous amount of money, right? And usually when they offer a ridiculous amount of money, it's because of the fact that they want the product to be able to make more money from it. So the time when someone like a CEO or a CCO would give that up is the time where they're kind of burnt out and they're like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. But they've been doing this for like 20 plus years, and they've been doing a really good job at it. So I'll be very surprised if they ever changed it, right? Like when you think about it in that way. So for me, I personally think that the only time that something like this gets sold is if the people who own it just get tired and just want to enjoy their life and not worry about anything else, right? And that's when you have worries, because that's when the new crop comes in to kind of take over everything, and that can be really, really bad. And it's why, so a lot of people who run businesses, you have like the three generation rule. You have the first one who builds it, the second who maintains it, and the third destroys it. And this isn't just like a business thing, this is actually a wealth thing in general. It's something that's, talked about quite a lot, which is something to be aware of. Because as someone is building a business, or as someone who is building a business and being able to like maintain it, they put in a lot of hard graft to make sure that it's all set up and everything is great. The second generation sees that happening, understands and learns from it. The third generation benefits from it, but torpedoes the whole thing. So you got to be super careful of that pipeline, and not just from like a family point of view, but from a business point of view. Right now, when it comes to Gaijin, they're still on the primary stage. There's a few areas which are secondary where people have left and, people have been, taken over different positions. Pavel, for example, was one of the early ones who left. So you've got to understand that, and you've got to, make sure that you put in like stuff like safeguards, so when those, the starter guys leave, that the whole thing doesn't fall apart. And I think generally they'll be good. And the only time anything will ever get sold is when they just don't want to do it anymore. So it isn't a case of will the game fail or will it need to be bought out to stay afloat. No, it'll just be like, okay, we're good. Thanks for all the fish. Peace be with you. Because people do get old, and people do, they do what they want to do, and then they go, okay, I've done all this. I've been super successful with it. Really happy for it. Set up a legacy for like the family and done all that stuff. Time for me to go. Thanks for all the good times, right? And that's okay. That's fine that people do that. But it's something to think about. I don't know who would buy Gaijin though, because I don't know what the value of Gaijin is, because it's a privately owned company. But my guess is it would be insanely high, especially with the amount that I know about the War Thunder finances and also the other projects that they're working on. It would be crazy. And also, especially because they own their own engine, which is another big thing that, a lot of other places have done. Crazy to think about at the end of the day, how much stuff is going on with the game, and we only focus on a very small part of it. Yeah. So then we have Cloudy Clobane. You should talk about the bug fix moderators who make the game unrealistic and don't fix bugs, or ones who have too much power and can make any vehicle deserve a nerf without proof that vehicle needs a nerf, like Scarpa talking about vehicles that need a buff with no proof. I usually live with the premise that the people who are put in positions of power at Gaijin know more about the individual vehicle or individual thing than I do, in terms of the statistics that they have from the player base about the vehicle. One thing to understand about Scarpa, Esmin, and general community managers is they are community managers. They are liaisons. Their job is to make sure to pass on feedback from the community to the development team and to the people who make those types of decisions, right? The people that you should be, going from there is actually the moderators themselves, the technical moderators or the game masters, people like that, if those are the people that you have, an issue with. But at the end of the day, the whole system is designed to be a pipeline so they can filter what they think is useful content for the developers to look at, and also the historical people to look at too. So at the end of the day, of course it's right to get the correct type of people, or the correct people in that piece of power to make sure that everything runs well and so on and so forth. But generally I think those guys do a pretty good job. I think there's an issue with some lower end guys who one of the problems you have when it comes to like lower end guys is they're usually hyper focused on specific things, so therefore trying to get stuff through which isn't to their liking is very hard to do. But straight up, the whole point of a community manager is you manage the community. So you are there to basically curate what people have said, bring up issues with the relevant parties so then they can fix them, right? So it's their job to just do that and make sure that things run smooth. So they're not the people who are fixing the bugs. They're not the people who are dealing with the information. They are straight up just the messenger. And sometimes the messenger does have some biases. And sometimes the messenger, you know, gets stuff wrong. But the main thing that always happens with the messenger is they always get blamed, even if it isn't their fault. And that's one of the things that's very hard. That's why I have a lot of respect for people like Esmin. Because Esmin, every day, has to deal with crazy people. And as a person who not every day, but a lot of days, I have to deal with a small percentage of crazy people, I cannot imagine we're dealing with all of the crazy people all of the time, who constantly make up things, or constantly try and push narratives, or constantly just push things around about how nobody cares, or they're artificially buffing, artificially nerfing things, especially when you have no control of the product. You get basically paid to be a PR person and to also have people with baseball bats, metaphorically, come in and just smash you in the face every day. It's not a job I could do, especially for the pay that you get. It's definitely not something I could do, because I value my time a lot more than that type of thing, and also my general qualifications. But yeah, it's something that that a lot of people do, and they do it quite effectively. So yeah, the best thing to do would actually be just maybe get some of them on like streams and stuff like that. I was thinking about doing it at some point, but I don't know. It's the problem is, it's at the end of the day they're an extension of the PR arm, so you know it's just one of those that wouldn't really be worth it. Because you know they're just not going to say the correct thing. Well, they're not going to say the things because, you know, they're trained not to. How many bits do you to play the M41D? I spaded the M41D, it's terrible. I don't want to touch it ever again. I'm good, thanks. As we said before, the going rate to make me do something I don't want to do is $1,000. So So we have Den, badly needed, the South Korean TADU in the US tech tree or the Japanese tech tree. Why is it badly needed? Like, what's the reason why we can't live without it, you know? Is there a reason? So, I don't know. Is there something that's needed? Why is it flashing like that? I'm sure what we'll get, like in the futures, we'll get the South Korean stuff, especially since they've added, you know, the languages, and I'm sure we'll get the North Korean stuff too. Because why wouldn't we, you know? Seems a bit odd. Like, it would be kind of cool to see that go on. Alright, so then we have Winter's Harmony. I feel like GUP would be a fine collab. Strike Witches, I completely understand. Like, half of the entire show is fan service, as are all the designs, but GUP doesn't sexualize its characters at all. From what I can remember, it's a dangerous statement, that one. From what I can remember, the worst thing that happened in that show was them wearing that fish suit and doing the dance. I forgot what it was called. They have shower scenes. I agree with TEC where sexualization of minors shouldn't be added to the game, or any game, in fact, but GUP doesn't have anything like that. Yes, it does. Once again, I know people forget these things. Unfortunately, old Mother Hubbard over here just doesn't. So, as I said, there is straight up a let's see if I can find it. There's a bunch of like shower and bath scenes in in the show, and also in the manga, and also in the movie. So don't know why these are forgotten about. It's completely fine that people do forget about them. I just don't get it. It makes no sense why people forget about these. Maybe somebody can remind me or work it out. No idea. Like, here's a link to some of them where it's just, yeah, I don't know why, but as I said before, whoops, I went to inspect element by accident. Like this one right here. Why is there just a bunch of the characters in a bath naked? If they're teenagers. Why is that there? Why is that needed? Does it add to the plot of the story? Of like the schools fighting against each other? But yeah. Be very careful with statements like, as I remember. What you need to do is you need to check beforehand. And you run into ridiculous things. So yeah. There's literally a website out there which is called like anime bath scenes. Right? Just go there, type in girls and Panzer. I don't know why we keep forgetting about these things. Then we have Sukas from Kiev. Hi TEC, I hope you're having a great day. It's going okay. I think this update just disappointed me a lot. In this update we received 40 vehicles, 6 ships. I don't like the naval part, I'm sorry. You'd have to apologize. 4 helis, 5 tank packs, which are just copies, 7 unique tanks, 7 unique planes, I'm counting each alpha jet separately, and a new subtree without the new part. And one part that impressed me is that in January they changed the BRs of the Strela, and this created a hole in the BR 9.3. In less than 2 months, they already put in a replacement of the tree. So this can be treated with Russian bias, or I don't know. I mean, it's a shilka with iglas. Like the US, Japan, Great Britain have huge holes in their AAA line, and even then it takes ages for them to receive something to fill it. I'm just disappointed with the update. I'm okay with the vehicles that are just copies of others, but I think it's shit that they make this the main part of the update. Well, the main part of the update's the alpha jets. It's just nobody cares about the alpha jets because they're just not very good. Like the main part of the update was the alpha jet and the Hungarian subtree. But because the Hungarian subtree is in the Italian tree, nobody cares about it, which sucks because, you know, it's nice to see new things. And then also the alpha jet. You know, that's why it's called Alpha Strike. But the Alpha Jet is cool to see. It gives a CAS option, but it's not anything that's going to take over the game. So it doesn't work very well. Hey, Lucky Strike, nice to see you. So yeah, it's just how it is at the end of the day. With all these different things, I don't think in general it's a negative thing or anything like that. It's just how it goes. Sometimes there are updates that appeal to people, sometimes there are updates that aren't. Right now, you know, we have obviously the Naval event going on and the major update, which didn't really have any huge bangers in them. So yeah, it's one of those which is going to put people off, or they're just going to take a break. But, you know, that's good. People should get breaks. You shouldn't do the same things over and over again all day. You'll get tired, you'll get annoyed, and you know it won't be very good for you. Then we have Gabriel Ravelou. Do you think we'll see the F-18 this year? Or maybe we could see the F-14D? Hi from France. Hello. Bonsoir. And what's your opinion on the socio-economic situation of the Middle East? Good. So the FA-18... I think they've been adding one like special American vehicle per year, right? The FA-18 I think will definitely be one that turns up, so I can definitely see that happening. The F-14D, I have no idea what it's about. I thought, isn't the thing with like the American naming system, like the A and the B are the same, but the B just has two pilots? And then same with the C and the D. So I don't think that would matter, right? I don't think that would change anything. So sure, why not? The socioeconomic situation of the Middle East is actually a funny thing. And because so one of the things that you're seeing right now is a transitionary period for a lot of nations in the Middle East. And you may have, it depends on what you're actually interested in. So one of the things that's happened a lot is a lot of very positive advertising and sponsorships in terms of certain countries, the UAE, Dubai, Saudi Arabia. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to take all of the money that they've basically got from natural resources, especially during the pandemic period when they artificially increased all of the prices of everything because of distribution. And guess what? Even though they lowered the prices slightly, they're still way, way higher than they were previously. And hey, guess what? All of these companies have very, very kind of meteorically high profits compared to what they did before. It's crazy, right? The interesting thing about it is they're taking a lot of the resources, mainly money, that they got during that time and previously, which we don't know how much money they actually have because it's all privatized through their monarchies, and they are paying a metric ton of people to advertise the areas. YouTube and Dubai is like, I don't know, there are so many people who go to Dubai who get paid off hotels, whether it's through like Dubai Airlines or whether it's through, different companies to promote their products, to make, videos on them. You might as well just be sucking the dick of just absolutely horrific regimes. But the main thing is it's been happening for many years, but it's been accelerated over the last few, mainly because of the pandemic and the amount of money that they brought in from places that they've artificially kind of, strung along. So what's happening right now is there's a metric ton of money flowing around and they're trying to change their image. So there's a lot of these places, whether it be Dubai with the World Cup, Saudi Arabia with a lot of the esports stuff that they're doing right now, and also the mega cities that they're building, which I did actually get offered to go work on one of those, but fuck that. I'm not interested in blood money. But the interesting thing with it is that they're all doing it to basically whitewash what they are, which is tyrannical monarchy regimes who don't care about any of that stuff and only care about control. And the reason why they're doing it is so they can put forward, once they have enough people entrapped into their ideas and into like their beliefs, right, then they just cut off the rest. If you want a fascinating example of this, you can have a look at golf. So in golf, there is, or was, I should say, two major players over the last little bit. You have PGA, which was like the main setup, and then you have, what was the Saudi Arabian run golf thing? I can't remember what it was called. LIV. So LIV comes along, which is a company which is run by the Saudi Arabian Investment Fund, and which is directly linked to the monarchy of Saudi Arabia. It's basically the place where they invest in other things to be able to spread their money around, to not just make money, but also to get more influence. So the LIV in golf was created, and they just bought up a bunch of golfers, because nobody has any morals anymore, and also because, last year we had a large economic depression, and this year, like, hey presto, what happens in a large economic depression? A bunch of people try and look after themselves, so they massively hike up prices to make sure that they have their piece of everything. So that's exactly what's happened last year, which is why things have just gone through the roof, which is why we're going to head towards a crash probably in like 2 years or so. So what's going to happen, right, with all the LIV stuff and all of these other things? They bought out a bunch of the golfers, right, who got a sweet pay deal. Everybody else was like against it and stuck with like the PGA because, they don't want to be owned by Saudi Arabia and all of this stuff. And now what has happened is a lot of the golfers have just been squeezed, so now they're going to represent LIV and go to their events, and also the guys who were vehemently against it are now saying, oh, well, it's not that bad. And the reason is because LIV can infinitely pour money into the system where PGA can't. And this is the key problem, right? And this has been the problem with China. It's also been the problem with America and many other places. When you put a government against a private corporation, the government wins all the time, 100% of the time. Now, imagine the government is run by a monarchy, right, which has absolute power, and you have no idea how much resources that they have, because none of it is public, right? Imagine you are a privately owned business, or even a publicly owned business that is going up against that. You can't win, because they can outspend you, they can run you into the ground, and they can just take everything that you have. They can pay twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times what you can. And because people are selfish and don't care about bigotry, don't care about prejudice, don't care about any of that stuff when it lines their own pockets, what ends up happening is you have a critical mass of people who are involved in these, and then the only gig in town is the LIV/the Saudi Arabian government. So you either want to play professional golf, and you are forced to play in these tournaments with these guys, you know, which are run by them and owned by them, or you just don't get to play. And that's how this whole system works. So they come in, they chuck money everywhere, like venture capitalists on steroids, right? And then after that, they run everybody else out of business, and then they're the only gig in town. So then they start forcing on their principles on you, and nobody can change anything. It's such a pain. And it's happening all over the place right now. It used to happen with Russia. It still is happening with Russia, by the way. Like when it comes to the brands that pulled out or just changed their name. And then also, like how a lot of trade nowadays, instead of going directly to Russia, oh, surprisingly, like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, their trading has just gone through the roof somehow. Where has this all come from? Oh, it's because of companies from countries who are trading with Russia, but aren't actually technically trading with them. They're just doing it through a third party. Such a pain. But yeah, anyway, like that kind of setup now, like with the golf stuff, with LIV and PGA, guess what's happening now? PGA are forced to partner with LIV because they cannot compete with them. You cannot compete with a government with infinite money. So now they will own golf. And also, they pretty much own boxing because all of the big fights, they happen in Saudi Arabia. They now own also darts. Pretty much all of the darts leagues and a lot of the big competitions are in that area of the world now, and it's because they are fine with outspending everyone else because of the amount of money that they've made off the unsustainable resources. So they're basically going, okay, we made all of this stuff, now it's time for us to cash in, and now we're going to use it to change our image so people think that we're nice. I want to create all of these wonderful places that people can go to, and then we can just smash them with our propaganda. It's disgusting what's happening. And it's happening in front of people's eyes. And people don't care. Because, yeah, F1 as well. Yeah, go and have a look at who's the head of the FIA right now. By the way, literally got investigated for 2 things going on. Oh, just magically disappeared. Sorry, didn't happen. Sorry, didn't happen. Sorry. Oh, that thing that obviously happened in front of your eyes? Sorry. We investigated it. Nothing happened. But yeah, so there's all of these different things going on at the moment in the world. And all it's really making me do is it's making me realize how morality is pretty much not there. It just doesn't exist for most people because they hope to get paid and then they can just disappear. So as long as they are set, as long as their family is good, They just don't care about anything else. And it absolutely sucks. Like, it is awful to see. And it's gonna end up where there's going to be nobody else who's gonna be there. And it's happening in gaming too with esports. In esports, like Saudi Arabia specifically, it's basically buyed out like half the people, and then they'll just leave the other half to rot. They bought out ESL. They bought out not MLG, but I can't remember what the other guys were. Whoever was under the SL group. They're doing tournaments with Riot Games, which are a private company, by the way. They're obviously doing work with Epic Games with all of their stuff. It's just ridiculous, man. Yeah, there's Faceit, but there was a company that ESL bought out a few years ago that used to run tournaments too. I just can't remember what they were called. But yeah, they're all owned by the Saudi Arabian government now. No, not Blast. Blast is funded by, well, Blast took the Saudi Arabian bag, and then I think it was the Dutch government or the Norwegian government who turned around and went, "Hey, we fund you. You're not allowed to do that." So that was funny to watch. But no, it wasn't Blast. Yeah, Dota 2 tournaments are now in Saudi Arabia too, in good old Riyadh. Everybody loves Riyadh. And yeah, you're just going to see all of these posts all over the place where it's just like, "Hey guys, I went here and look how nice everything is. Don't you like it here? Isn't that awesome? You should come here too. You should come live here actually. You know, the culture isn't that bad. You know, women are allowed to drive now. Isn't that cool? They're allowed to speak. You know, oh, are they allowed to go out unchaperoned, or are they allowed to live their own lives? No. Oh, like, what is the standard, like, state of, you know, most people who live in Saudi Arabia? Oh, who cares? You know, look at all of these robes, and look at all of this nice stuff that we have. It's nuts, man. Like, it's crazy how it's all working. But yeah, so it's really bad at the moment with all that stuff, and it's just gonna get worse because, as I said, nobody has any morals, and everything is just about money now. Sucks. Literally sucks, man. And the people who are like sat there, who do have the morality, are such a minority now that it doesn't matter, because basically everybody, like the mass of it will just literally, as we said with like the golf stuff and many other things, it's either, hey, so you either like work with us or you can't work anywhere. Like it's either you work for us or there is nothing else to do. So if you want to be in this business, you have to work with us, which is like diabolical. But welcome to what happens when you just allow like literal countries to buy out everything, and when you just corrupt absolutely everything. It's just how it goes. Yeah, it's how it goes, Donny B, every time. But they don't... The thing is, like, these governments can do it over years. They can do it over generations. You know? Hey, Penguin Red, nice to see you. Like, all these guys are not looking over the next year. They're looking over the next 20 years. Or 30 or 40 or 50. Because when you're a monarchy, especially when you have specific ideas, you can just straight up wait 50 to 100 years. Like, it's nuts. Absolutely crazy. So yeah, fun times ahead. Shouldn't be very good, but we'll see how it goes. So then we have TK. Hello, TEC. Hello. Recently, I've been getting frustrated on artillery. It takes like 10 or 15 seconds to start the barrage. By that time, I'm already dead. So I thought of a quicker type of artillery that could be added. Something like rockets. For example, the famous Katyusha or Nobelwerfer. This could be added to light tanks or tank destroyers. Anyways, have a great day, and don't forget to stay hydrated. That's fair. Hydration is key. Do you mean like to... You know, like a quick barrage, where like, you know, you just plonk it down and then do. Yeah, I would prefer like a smoke barrage kind of thing. The major issue I have with artillery is I don't like the idea that you could just get RNG down by something that you have no control over, right? Yeah, there is a crew skill that makes calling in artillery quicker, which is nice. But what I would say in general, is I prefer a setup where instead of like stuff like that happening, you would have like non-combat stuff. So, well, you would have combat stuff, but non-lethal stuff. So stuff like smoke artillery, things like that, I think are much more fun than the opposite. I would hope that in the future they would add more vehicles like the Katusha, like they have already added, and then also the other rocket machine that I can't remember the name of, but the one with basically the bigger rockets. Like that would be kind of cool to see. But the main thing is, I just don't. There's enough ways of randomly dying already in War Thunder. I don't want to add more ways of just randomly dying. Like, does that make sense? Yeah, the BM 3112. Yeah, and there's also that little one as well. That's around the place. So then we have Doomed. The HMS Glorious is a ship I only play if I'm up to 6.3 or god forbid 6.7. The guns are pretty awful against destroyers and cruisers, which always dodge around the shells, but against battleships it's very effective. Much more than the 6-inch guns of the Southampton, for instance, but of course the Southampton is fare better in down tiers. Yeah, I think that's fair. I did have a decent amount of good times with the Glorious, because I used the secondary armaments pretty effectively, and the muzzle velocity of the secondaries and the primaries is, it's close enough to kind of work out, so like it's not too bad. I would say in general that the Glorious is just in a very weird space. I don't think it fits very well in like anything, so yeah, it's a bit weird. I find it a bit odd. So I would say that I would want access to maybe a little bit less firepower and more rates of fire. Is usually a little bit more fun. So yeah, it's one of those things that definitely sticks in the mind about those types of vehicles and how some vehicles do actually do better in up tiers than down tiers. Like there are certain light tanks, right, that do better in up tiers than down tiers, which is quite a tough thing to like try and like help people understand. But yeah, it's like the Fox, right? Technically the Fox probably does better in an up tier than a down tier because it goes up against lighter armor, because a lot of the armor around like 6.7, 6.3 is pretty heavy. Weird. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna dodge spading the Glorious for now. I spaded all of the other machines for Britain at that BR, and moving on to the Italian stuff and kind of like chilling with that, I think's the way to go. Hey Bob, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. It's been nice playing around like 5.3, 5.7 though. Like just getting all these things done, trying to spade all these things. I think one of the most important things for me is to try and get as much, not information, but as much experience as possible in War Thunder, so we can chat about as many things as possible. I don't like being in a situation where I'm not know exactly where what I'm chatting about. Hopefully everything's good, Bob. Hopefully you're doing well. So we have Pragun Kumar. Let's get some water in. Ooh, goddamn. Namaste, TEC. Asha, hi, app, TEC, ho. Ooh. Sounds fun. How was the top tier ground experience in War Thunder? Like the 9.3 plus area. Really want to play the Pancake Tank at 8.7. Really fun. Love the BMP2 and the T55 AM1. Yeah, happy Easter, man. Hopefully you have a good one. Yeah, we're doing the tech talk, Bob. I think we're about halfway through, maybe. Which is not too bad. So, I mean, the top tier or the higher tier experience in War Thunder can be very fun, and also can be a little bit soul destroying. It's like, put it like this: every part of the game of War Thunder is different, depending on how you kind of feel about it. So it's all very like personal in that regard. There are people who enjoy it day in day out. There are people who enjoy complaining about it, and there are people who, you know, have a bad time with it. And the only way you're going to find out is if you get into it. The big one is mobility, right? Everything's a little bit faster, and people shoot more center mass because they usually have better rounds, which can just go through center mass of most things. So that's like the things you got to watch out for, and also the cast stuff. But honestly, there isn't really a way of kind of, you know, discussing experience and, you know, what feels good and what feels bad. The better way of saying it is just give it a go and find out, man. Because just like every part of games, especially these types of ones, there are so many like areas which people would enjoy if they just gave it a go, but they don't want to because they hear what other people say about things. Top tier is very much like that. Naval is very much like that. Helicopters are very much like that too. It's straight up just give it a go and see what happens. And, you know, there are many vehicles that I've played recently that I've had a good time with. The VBC, the VCC 8060, and also, you know, a lot of the naval ones. And, yeah, you just got to give it a go and see what goes on. Like, you'll get used to the experience pretty quick as well, like the different vehicles that you'll face and, you know, what's moving around. It ain't too different from what you're playing right now, so yeah, it should be fine. Yeah, I saw that earlier, Penguin Red. I'll probably do a video on it tomorrow. I'll kind of just let it percolate. I don't want to go too heavily into it. Like I'll read it after the tech talk and we can go through it, right? See what's going on. Then we have Lewis Armour. Hello Tech, I haven't been able to watch the tech talks for a while. Midterms are annoying. They can be, but if you do well, then you know, then it makes things a little bit easier. So, you know, you can, don't worry about it. You can get it done. Hope you're doing alright. I'm alive and kicking. We're doing good. My friend mentioned to me yesterday that the M1 Abrams can fire the M900 and thus should get it in game instead of the M735. He has also been suffering against the 292 spam at 10-0, which may be creating bias in my opinion. I told him that I doesn't need it and the 292 is just under tiered. What do you think about this? Thanks for making these for us and have a good week. The thing about the 292 is it has decent mobility and a decent gun, but there are much better vehicles at those VRs that I would rather take, which have much better secondary abilities. The Abrams has better mobility than the 292, it has a way better reload than the 292, and then also at the same time it technically can have better armor in certain areas and has thermals. Right? So like, just because a vehicle should or could use a round in real life doesn't mean it should in game, right? The Abrams has all got a buff recently, or at least the 121s do, and you know they are very fun and very simple to play. And they, you know, if you're struggling against stuff like the 292, stop trying to fight it like, you know, straight up. Instead, try and go around or wait for it to shoot and then, you know, peek and hammer it, because honestly it can't reload in time. And you can just hammer it with like your gun where you can shoot what, like twice to its once at least. Like, it's crazy to think about. So yeah, the Abrams is a very good vehicle. It doesn't need a buff. If you want to see what happens to an Abrams if it gets buffed, you can remember the IPM-1 back in the day, where for some reason they decided to up its BR, but then also give it a better round at the same time. So then it went up like twice in BR after that. So yeah, I don't think it's really needed to do that. The other thing as well is, you know, against one specific vehicle, if you struggle, that's fine. If you don't struggle against anything else, then, you know, something to think about. Instead of also thinking about just buffing things over and over and over again, maybe think about nerfing other things that would make a little bit more sense. You can't just buff stuff every time you're struggling against, you know, certain things. Just how it is. Is there aim assist in boats? Because when I keep shooting, my bullets keep going above the target. No, not really. If you want it to be low, you know, you pull it low, and if you want it to be above, you pull it above. It's all about the distance marker in the center. So yeah, the 292 is one of those that's gonna annoy people because it's Russian, and people go, blah, 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 Russia, blah, 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 bias, blah, 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 blah. But the vehicle itself is not as good as many NATO MB2s. Like the best thing you can do is just put it up by 0.3 BR, but you'll see it anyway, so I really don't think it's that good. I'd rather take so many other vehicles over it, man. Oh, sorry, I've just got to stretch. Oh, there we go. So we have Jake the Tank Master. Do you do it? From Island Techie, how's things? Yeah, stuff's good. Like, can't be mad. Looking forward to Easter. Looking forward to doing a bunch of baking. I can't make it to a family thing on Monday, so Sunday. So we're gonna make 2 cakes. One which is gonna have 2 Victoria sponges. One which is gonna have Cool Whip, Cool Whip, and grape jelly in it, which is just like it's a ridiculous setup. And then the other one which is gonna have buttercream and strawberry jam, so more of a standard one, but yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that. Really enjoy baking. Like it's a really just nice little hobby to do, so it's pretty fun. And then also, yeah, it's the same thing, Fluff. Like when it comes to the smaller machines too, they use the same setup. A quick one. Do you think War Thunder will have major graphical improvements, i.e. new power ×5 with the foreseeable future? Well, the tanks had the 1.0 update a few years ago that made the game graphically go from it works to wow, it's gorgeous. I can look at this for hours. Not that War Thunder's a bad looking game, it's just that you can definitely tell the game has roots from and was built from upon 2009's How to Stomavik Birds of Prey. And many textures are fairly dated. Looking to put it lightly, what do you think? I think the biggest issue with upgrading a lot of those textures is it would mean that a lot of people would not be able to play the game anymore. And I think they're constantly looking to improve the graphics, but also looking at trying to make it as accessible as possible to everybody. So over the last little bit, they have done that. You know, they added the UHQ. They added, obviously, you know, new power, which was mainly the Daegor engine update. They added 4K textures. They added a bunch of options that you can turn on higher end PCs. You obviously have post-FX settings. You have all of the NVIDIA stuff and the AMD stuff that you can do too. So they've really pumped it up the last little bit, and they've obviously been working a lot on effects. The major issue when it comes to War Thunder is like the vegetation or the landscapes or the stuff like that, right? A lot of that, especially in air or especially in naval, doesn't really look like anything and is just kind of stuck there. And the major reason why that is once again because they're trying to make, you know, the game as, you know, performance good as possible. Like if you have a look at this, right? Like, you know, it looks okay, but it doesn't look crazy good. Like, just as a kind of example. So for me, I think they're just trying to get the balance between everything looking really nice and not. War Thunder is one of those games that gives you so many different options to change. And the difference between, like, ULQ with everything turned off and then everything turned on at the highest level with a nice screen and all of those things is crazy. Like for me, I just upgraded to a 2K monitor, right? And just the fidelity difference and also having to, you know, reconfigure all the settings and make everything look really nice again. It's completely changed, like, the way that I see the game and even play the game. And that's just like a little upgrade like that. Like, it's crazy. You ever made a soda cake? Like literally a box cake with a 120 ounce of Fanta, whatever you prefer? No, how does it work? That sounds interesting. So yeah, they're always just trying to go for that balance. So will there be graphical updates in the future? Yes. But the big one is the landscapes, right? The landscapes are the thing that need the most work compared to other things, and hopefully they do something to them and make them, look really nice, like they have done the vehicles and many other parts of the game. I think it'll be good. I don't think there is too many legacy things nowadays. I think I can't think of too many legacy parts of the game. I might be wrong though. Like, I feel like the B-17s were some of the last ones that were there. But I'd have to have a think. Then we have Jerry. I've been enjoying the YouTube shorts that you've started doing recently. I hope you keep them up. Also, you need to get your brain checked if you pay $60 for the Premium Challenger 2 TS. Or the OES. Yeah, it's definitely not my bag. Yeah, the shorts have been fun. Yeah, I mean, I used to do shorts on like TikTok and on the other YouTube channel, but I decided to kind of put them on the other thing, the main channel. But I just click the notification so it doesn't stick into people's subscriptions, so therefore it, other people see it. Because I think it's, it's different content to what we've seen before, right? So yeah, I'm gonna continue to do it. I'm gonna start editing it a little bit more. The last little bit is just kind of working out the system and how it works on YouTube, and then kind of going from there. So yeah, it should be fine. The main thing is, as well, is, obviously using clips from Twitch, which can be a bit annoying, and I do need to sort out some branding stuff, but it shouldn't be too hard to do. Doing the second channel stuff's been really fun recently as well, and doing all the little extra stuff that we've been doing, like increasing audio quality and, increasing a bunch of different stuff. Like, why not? Might as well get it done and have a bit of fun. So now all the upgrades are done for the year. It's now time to just start printing and start doing crazy things. So that's what we're going to do. And it's been pretty fun to do so. The next one is Saeed Tech. Really enjoy your videos. I also enjoy Spading vehicles, but SPAA takes a long while for you. I agree. SPAA for me takes the longest out of most of the standard types of vehicles. And it's just because, yeah, it's a pain in the ass. Like, it takes a really, really long time it takes a really long time to get through them. I've started to try and spade them in arcade, actually, in Grand Arcade, but that leads into its own issues, because now the way that the spotting system works in arcade, it basically, if you're in an AA, it just puts a big marker on your head and goes, "Hey, come shoot me." So yeah, it's a little bit harder, and especially with like missile AAs, because there's a lot of them which have like the realistic missile physics, but then the planes don't have the realistic missile physics, or just realistic FMs, so they could just dodge them super easily, which can be quite annoying, not gonna lie. So yeah, but my tip for that is do it in arcade, or just first spawn them, go to specific areas, wait, and then do that over and over again. But that is pretty boring to do, but sometimes you gotta do stuff like that. Usually SPAAs don't need a lot of mods to be 100% combat effective though, so it's not something I really worry about too much, because by the time I have it in the lineup and I'm using it, usually with just like a few mods it's fine. It's not too bad, so it can be good. Like, it's not too shabby. Let's see. So we have Paran Paranovic. GUP was made by Wargaming. It ain't getting a collab in War Thunder. What? I don't think it was made by Wargaming, was it? Unless I'm like, misremembering things. I'm pretty sure it was made by somebody else. Let's see. It was published by Media Factory, illustrated by Ryoichi Satniya, and then Seven Seas Entertainment, and then... yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was made by them. So yeah, I don't know. I know they've collabed with them, but like that doesn't mean shit, you know, unless they have like, for some reason, like an infinity exclusivity agreement. But that really shouldn't matter too much. So yeah, I don't know. Just seems a bit odd. But yeah, that's probably not the. I mean, maybe they were, but I don't think so. Like, I'd need to have a look into it, see if that's actually true or not. Alright, so then we have Type 10. Hey TEC, it's just funny when my Type 90 just deflects rounds, little armor is best armor at this point, or the rounds just go straight through. The CM11 looks interesting to go for. Eventually I will get to the Q5, hopefully it's good. Eh. Yeah, they're not great. But basically with the Q5, you just, you know, you go for bases and then you go home in a realistic. They have a very limited role in the game. Let's see. I told my friend it took me 2 years to grind Japan. It was only shortened quickly with premium time. I'll always tell him to have fun and put the grind in the back. I know he's going to have SL problems, but he's getting better. He just unlocked the T44. Also, I sent him tank weak spots in the BR range. Oh, that's kind of cool. It really is just passing my vast knowledge to him. Yeah, which is good. You know, that's what you want to do in video games. That's all I have. Good day. And the Type 10 best MBT, definitely no bias. The greatest that's ever been born. Simple as. Not too bad. Right, so then we have Away With You, Valbiga. Hey TEC, I was going to talk about it, and I'm glad you mentioned it, but yes, it's good that the people who generally believe World War II is just another war, and stuff like this are a minority. Yeah, they definitely are. As you said, World War I is a bunch of alliances and people seeing their interests, but World War II is 100% about good and evil. I'm glad that saying things like this is preaching to the choir, but I found it's necessary to say for the people in the back. Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, we talked about the ideas of narratives before and, you know, how they get spread and how they move around. You're always going to have people all over the place. Now about your college experience, yeah, I don't know. I kind of alluded at people like that when I talked about us going backwards because these people seemed effed in the head. Well, they're just young, like that's the thing. Every time I hear my friends from the Western Hemisphere political one talk about these sorts of individuals, I'm always astonished by how cultish they act. Like sometimes they sound very close to the no-no Germans with how obsessed about genetics they can get. It is very odd. Like it is like a full circle thing. But yeah, it's very weird. Nice to see you, Danny. Hopefully you're doing good. But yeah, it is very odd, but also at the same time, it's straight up just an education thing, right? If you're born into an environment, or if you are taught in an environment which says a specific thing over and over again, it's very easy to manipulate somebody to hate somebody else. We've seen it all the way through human history. You know, our brains are not that different from when it was, you know, a long time ago, when people did atrocious things because of hating the other. As I said, I'm Romanian, so I grew up with the idea that people are people. We're shaped by our surroundings, not the way we're born. Knowledge that's probably taught in most parts of the world. But hearing these individuals makes me wonder, how does someone so delusional exist? Through people in places of power who benefit from them spreading these types of ideas. That's pretty much it. Because it is much easier when you are trying to build up a set of people. It is much easier to create an other which they can attack against instead of uniting them through a hopeful, optimistic goal. It's so much easier to do that. Which is why when you think about a lot of tyrannical or a lot of very, very fanatical like sets of people in history, even down to like small like mobs of people, it is always about aggression and destroying something. It is never about creating something or being optimistic or pushing forward. In the modern era, you have stuff like ISIS, which is all about, you know, going back to the more fundamental age of Islam. If you have think about like Russia right now in the invasion of Ukraine, all their idea is once again creating this whatever they see as this Russian area. You know, if you've had a look at some of the interviews that Putin has done, he talks about it all the time. Like this, his idea of like what Russia is and what he's trying to get back to. Same with like Israel right now with what's going on over there. Same with like America when it comes to like certain areas they've been dealing with, such as Syria. It's all the same. It's all like taking historical things and going, okay, I want this to happen. Let's find a reason for it to get people behind and let's do it aggressively, right? So you don't do it in a supportive way of let's work together. You go, hey, this type of person is bad. We're going to hammer them into the ground. And everyone goes, yeah, let's do it. Instead of like, whoa, hold up. Why can't we maybe work together to try and create this, right? Because when you do the work together to create kind of thing, first of all, you run into a lot more issues than you would previously. And second of all, you may find out that, first of all, people aren't too different, so you can't control them in that way, but also you might have fundamental differences, which means that you can't do it. And also the other side can just turn around and go and then just, you know, do the aggressive thing that you aren't gonna do. So it's just a whole like mess of who is more antagonistic towards the other right now, and it's very annoying and it's just shit. So I don't know how else to put it. It's just no good. Don't get me wrong, I know plenty of people from an A that are just normal as anyone else, so I get that these individuals are a minority. They're still very strange. So a lot of these ideas are minority opinions, but eventually they get spread to the majority consensus. So the general idea is you have a small set of people that pushes something which sounds like a consensus, and then that becomes the consensus because nobody else rallies against it. If you have a look at many countries, especially Canada, America, and a bunch of others, right? What ends up happening is you have a small minority of people who create a narrative. This narrative gets spread, maybe changed a little bit to benefit some others, and then that becomes gospel. It happens all the time over here, and it's how you get a lot of things done. If you have a look at many social movements over the years, it wasn't the majority of people pushing it, it is a minority of people, and then the majority comes to accept it. Because the vast majority of people who are older are fine with the status quo because they are happy with their position in life and don't want to lose anything. You know, it's just something that happens all the time. Like when it comes to social issues, even if you have a look at a lot of the marches, or if you have a look at, you know, many things that were seen as negative back in the day or positive back in the day, the groups that were behind this, you're not talking about tens of millions of people, you're usually talking about a couple thousand here and there that all unite against the tens of millions. It's crazy how quickly you can change something if you want to. And the only really thing that's stopping it is the only thing that ever stops stuff like that is if, you know, basically the people come in with aggressive force, which obviously isn't great. But yeah, that happens quite a lot too. But not to worry, our future is bright. The questions are you ready to stick out your gyap for the Rizzler? Are you skibbity? Are you Phantom Tax? I have no idea what that means. Do you want to be our Sigma? No, I don't. But yeah, the simple thing with humans in general is we're in an incredibly positive position nowadays. I know, you know, we talk a lot about the issues that are around the world, but if you just have a look at what's going on in the vast majority of places, the world's pretty good, you know? The world's not too bad for a lot of people. It still needs to be improved for many, but the idea that we're in a negative place and we're in a worse place than we were in the past is just false. And I don't like a lot of the doom and gloom that gets spread about humans in general. I think humans are pretty awesome. I really like, you know, the fact that we get to chat together and we get to do all these things, and, you know, we have all these different technologies that keep coming around, and we're working on all these crazy things to kind of like benefit the future of stuff. I think that's really awesome. And I've always said I really like humans. They're pretty cool. And I wish that there wasn't such a negative. I really wish our brains were wired slightly differently. I wish our brains were wired so we don't remember the negatives more than we remember the positives. Because then that leads to like mindsets which just really aren't very good for people. I really wish it was the other way around, man. Hey, Sue Like City, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. Like, we'd be in such a much more positive situation if that was the case. And yeah, it would be kind of nice. But yeah, yesterday was fun, Sue Like City. We're just doing the tech talk right now, so that's what's going on. The weekly podcast we do, going through comments and chatting about stuff. Most people live like the kings of the Middle Ages lived. Well, even better. Like, think about the entertainment possibilities we have right now. Think about the food. Think about the food possibilities. You know, it's nuts. Just think about like basic things. Yeah, shit's expensive. Yeah, it's annoying as hell. But like, at the same time, it's nuts if you compare it to even 100 years ago. Like, if I was my age 100 years ago, all right, I've had to fight in World War I. I'm either dead or I'm severely psychologically screwed in the head, right? I'm going to be in Britain because I can't move anywhere else because travel isn't a thing. I'm going to be castigated for being in the war. I'm going to get nothing from it, and I'm probably going to blow my own brains out. That's not very fun, is it? Are you everything playing Naval? Today we're playing Naval, but I do play all the different game modes. We're just playing Naval right now because there's an event going on. So next week we'll be playing other stuff, which will be nice. So yeah. Then we have Charlie Harris. Hi Tech, hello. Just wanted to get your opinion on paper vehicles in War Thunder. Since some people in the War Thunder community seem to think that paper will ruin the historical aspect. Yeah. Although I can respect people's opinions on this matter, I can't understand is why do some people seem to say that the game has historical vehicles when half the vehicles that I've personally seen don't even exist. I mean, well, right, 99.9% of vehicles in War Thunder existed. So, you know, let's not go crazy. Yeah, that's fair, Sal, you know. Like, obviously for you, you're a bit of a special case. Like, when it comes to that. Yeah, King Tiger 105, Panther 2, Flag Panzer. Like, I can remember when the Oswin 2 came out, I actually tried to find a picture of that vehicle, but unfortunately no dice. So in my opinion, War Thunder already has fake vehicles. So War Thunder might as well go screw it and just add more paper vehicles, because personally I don't really have a problem with paper vehicles as long as they're balanced and fun. That's the problem right there. You've hit it on the head. The problem is not whether they should add fake vehicles or not, because they already do. They've done it a lot in Naval. The J6K1 for planes. You know, if you want to have a look at Naval, they actually label them now. They say project next to their name. So the Z46, the Z47, the Kronstadt, all of these vehicles were not finished. And then you have, as I said, the J6. You have the whole reproduction. You have a bunch of vehicles, R2Y2s. You have a bunch of them that, you know, weren't real. So Yeah, the idea is not about destroying the historical aspect or whatever random. If anybody ever brings up anything historical, just stop talking to them about that thing. Just stop it. Because it's only going to end in just a silly conversation where you can just keep bringing up like things over and over and over again, which like, and it's just an example conversation. So it's you just bringing up examples of things that are different from what the person wants, and then them going around, well, I wouldn't do that if that happened, right? So it's just a trying to alter reality thing. The question about adding these fake vehicles or not, is there a place for them in the game in terms of balance? And also, can they actually be fun? That's all that matters. The problem we've had with a lot of fake vehicles is many of them were not balanced when they came out, and even to this day, also are not balanced, like the J6. So that's the thing, right? That's the question. So if you can work those two out, then we're good to go, right? That's what matters. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about whether they should be added or not. There's plenty of vehicles that are already in, and which are technically fake, from all different aspects of fakeness. No, you can't, Bryce. So, like, don't even think about that side of things. Don't even bother. Because there's no point. There's absolutely no point in doing that. You just put yourself in a negative headspace, and you'll have conversations about things that don't matter. So, which feels like, unfortunately, a lot of what I do. So we have Islam. Hey TEC, hello. This comment was on last week's video, but I think you made the video too soon, where there was 4 comments that you didn't read. Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, basically, we released the video on Sunday, and then I record it the next week on the Friday. So if you put the comment on the days where, like, between those, so like on the weekend, they'll get missed. So I apologize for that, but it makes the most sense for me to do it like this, because it means that I can schedule the I can schedule it for like I can schedule it for Sunday so it can come out at the same time every time, you know? Canadian snowbirds? I have no idea what those are. Hey Tokip, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. I have an update on my journey in Swedish Air. The vegan is good. I am gonna play the vegan pretty soon. I'm looking forward to seeing how it is. Hopefully it's good. But I had to grind 5 jets with 1 million RP with it to start grinding rank 8. I know they do this to keep new players from getting top tier too fast, but do you think this mechanic is too much? I think at the higher echelons, it's too much. Especially if they force you to go down every single line of the tech tree. Like, if they end up forcing you to go down all the lines of the tech tree, the basic thing that it stops, or the basic thing that it does, is it means you don't have any choice. So you still just have to grind out everything that everyone grinds out anyway. So the higher echelons, because there's a lot less vehicles, but, you know, they still want people to play a lot of them, then yeah, it's just how it is. And yeah, it sucks at the higher echelons. I wish it wasn't like that. I wish it was a little bit easier. Hopefully, going forward over the next little period, they will change it so it isn't as bad in that way. Hopefully, it's a bit more relaxed, and that we can focus on, you know, just kind of playing the vehicles that you want to play, but not right now. How many screens do I have? I have 3 at the moment. I have my main one that I use to play on, and then I have one. Well, I have 2 to my right, 1 on top of the other one. So I have all of you on the screen to my right, and then I have a screen above it which does, like, you know, the tech talk stuff and a few other things. Works pretty well, actually. I like the system. But yeah, hopefully we get a reduction this year. Usually we get a reduction every year, so we'll see. So then we have Maxi Daxi. What? In what way does Girls and Panzer sexualize anything? I'm guessing this is just another anti-anime comment from a person that never actually watched the anime. I have watched the anime. I've also watched the movie. I looked into the manga because when it comes to all of these things, these are topics that get brought up quite a lot. And whenever they're brought up and I say the things that I say, there is always people who question these things. So we've already talked about it more in this video. I have watched a decent amount of animes in the past. My missus is a weeb, so, you know, I watch stuff with her. Some of the stuff we watch is very odd. I'm not anti-anime at all. There's a lot of them that I enjoy. I liked the Attack on Titan. That was pretty nice. How to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon was hilarious. There's also one about like making dungeon food or something. Monster Mitsume is just insane. But yeah, I think animes are actually pretty cool and they're pretty fun. But the fact is, there are some of them which are pretty disgusting in terms of what they kind of show and what they are designed around. And, you know, Blood C or like Blood Plus or whatever, I generally find those ones okay, like stuff like that. But yeah, when you have a product that you want to do like a collaboration with, I think it's important to understand where both sides of the equation come from, right? So it's just kind of how it goes, right? So at the end of the day, like, I have watched all the Girls and Panzer stuff. I don't really feel like watching them again. I thought they were fine. It's just, as I've said, Food Wars is actually really good. I just don't like the fact that it sexualizes minors. And you can say that it doesn't. There are plenty of examples out there that people just don't remember. And that's fine, because one of the ways that, these types of ideas get into society is through kind of pushing through them in unconscious ways. That doesn't mean that you have to react to them or see them. They just have to be there. If you've ever watched Fight Club, for example, if you've ever watched Shutter Island, if you've ever watched the movie about the dreams, Inception. If you've ever watched any of these things where there are many like little subtle hints to different stuff that you only pick up on the second or third viewing, or you're only supposed to, right? Like that's something to think about. Not everything has to be as obvious as, let's say, a 12-year-old getting railed by a horse, right? And the problem is, since a lot of these guys know that a lot of this is socially unacceptable in a lot of the areas of the world where they want to produce their media, they put in small things that make that obviously kind of like whistles to those things, but not others. For example, when they put in the body pillows for like War Thunder, they specifically didn't put their full date of births on them, right? So that's one of those things. You have to ask yourself, why would they not do that? Because they put the rest of the date of birth on. They put the day that they were born and also the month. So they're obviously not against putting date of births on. They're just against putting the year on. And the only reason you would do that is if you would want it open to interpretation. And if you want it open to interpretation, then yeah. Do I have to explain more? It's simple as. So I think it's very important to in general to talk about these things and go through them, and it's just how it is, not very fun. Over the last few years and right now, there is actually a Nickelodeon documentary that has come out which talks about the abuse that a lot of the child actors went through, such as Amanda Bynes, and also, is it Drake from Drake and Josh, and then a few other child actors too, who were exploited by people in that industry. So yeah, it isn't just a Japanese thing, it is a very unfortunate part of our society, and The only real way of dealing with it is with baseball bats. So we have Bob. Hello there. I'm back with a fantastic idea. Bob has had a very good start to the year, by the way. He's had a lot of stuff go well for him, so well done, Bob. Gaijin should upgrade old event vehicles to premiums due to the higher ranks we got now. Yeah, I'll be fine with that. You know, why not? I think that's really cool. Like, I think it's quite nice. I think in general they should rethink a few of those, but right now that's not the case, which kind of sucks. It would mean that a lot of vehicles will get respaded pretty quick, which would be quite nice. But yeah, why not? I think what they should do is they should make certain vehicles premiums from Naval as well, just to try and enhance people using them, instead of having these like high tier machines which, you know, you have to grind out fully, which sucks. Then we have Mab. There's a dichotomy. Oh, here we go. This is going to be a fun one. There's a dichotomy about fictional media and what it could describe about you. Not really. Right. Games, movies, cartoons, books, or any piece of fiction that features murder, more horrific things are fine. GTA, COD, Mortal Kombat, John Wick, Rambo is all is good. And I don't think any of these have... I don't think any of these are designed for, like, audiences of that age, right? So, okay. Bad start. COD is an 18+ game, GTA is an 18+ game, Mortal Kombat is an 18+ game, John Wick might not be 18+, but it's definitely mature. Same with Rambo, so this is a very, very poor start. But the moment a fictional character is less than 18, in this case anime, where it's usually teenagers in high schools or university, no, let's be honest, it's always high school. Because Japan is an issue in their culture, being strict and all, I don't care about their thoughts about how they do these things. This has caused the audience of anime to prefer the high school setup when kids don't have much to do other than attend classes. I digress. If they are being brutally yeeted limb from limb, it's fine, but if fan service or bikini moments happen, then people try to weasel in pedophilia. It's not about weaseling in pedophilia, it is pedophilia. There is, right. I know people don't like reading these studies because they're actually awful to read, okay? But what I would right now say is it's very important to, instead of just waxing lyrical on the internet, is to actually read sociological studies about the links between this stuff. Just like how when you get mass murderers, they really enjoy watching murder. And they like taking part in it. And they like watching movies which have access to these things. It is the same for people who have other proclivities too. Right? And the more that you normalize these things, right, the more chance you have that somebody ends up in a situation where they get abused. It's really not rocket science. It's all good, Alex. We'll sort something out, man. It's all fine. I understand that fiction can be a source of learning or amplifying bad habits, but you also disagree because in the end it's not true in every case. Right. Right. We're not gonna do not all pedophiles in this one, please. You could say that statement about absolutely anything. But I also disagree. I disagree with the idea that rights are given to literal pixels on your screen. What? It's not about rights. It's about morality. Morality and law are two separate sets of beliefs and fucking rules. Oh god, here we go again. Alright. If that's fine, then we should ban games like GTA or COD. Both of those are 18 plus games. That's the whole point of them. None of these shows are 18 plus. I don't understand why we are like why these two things are being put together. No, it's all good, Alex. I don't need these two comparisons together because they're fundamentally different, and it's just, I don't know. What can I say? There's a saying, sex sells. I personally hate this business practice, but I don't mind it entirely. What? Fan service in anime or sexualizing characters is boring since almost every anime has it. Maybe you should ask yourself why that's the case. But it doesn't take away the fact that people like the horny moments. Yes. And there are many people in the world who, if they're allowed to, would sexually abuse children. Or teenagers. Or whatever line you wanna put in, right? I miss anime from the 80s, 90s that usually had more mature themes and stories, yet they still had fan service, but not to the extent we have today. And once again, right. You know how we talked about before patterns of recognition and how sometimes people find it hard to join the dots. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's changed over the last bit? And do you think it has anything to do with the fact that the internet has become much more prevalent in society, and it also means that more people can do heinous things? Just a little bit of backstory. I grew up in a horrific place. I grew up in a place called Hull, right? My father worked in Hull. I went to school in Hull. My father used to work in some of the worst communities in Hull. These were areas where kids were pregnant when they were 13, 14, 15, 16. They were usually impregnated by people who are in their mid-20s, 30s, 35s, and relationships were cultivated from a very early age. And by the time that the women got to their mid-20s or got to their mid-25s, they were done. And they were drug abused, or they would just become drug abusers. And nothing else would go on, and then the cycle of abuse would continue. Now, I know a lot of people don't grow up seeing that, or looking around that, or don't see any of those perspectives, and all they see is just like harmless things on the screen. But what I think about is those girls. And I think about how if society itself promotes those ideas in any way, more of that happens. Where you get people who have not even allowed to live, who are put into these boxes, right? And are told that this is how this works and you cannot do anything else. And they get abused from day one of their life. And that's what they see. And whenever I see anything that promotes stuff like that, or pushes those ideas forward, even as little or innocuous as you think it isn't going to be innocuous to somebody else. And it's going to royally fuck up their lives. Honestly, I would... Right, when I'm older, okay? And when I'm back in England for a bit, like just seeing everybody in the family and stuff, what I'll do is I'll do a series of videos, and it'll just be called like Welcome to Hull or something. And what I'll do is I'll go around some of these areas that I used to see, and some of these people that I used to know. Many of them who are just dead now. Didn't even get past 30. Because of drug abuse, because of either murders or because of just straight up just losing their minds because they were abused so much. And what we'll do is we'll just go around and chat, and I'll show you the conditions that these people live in. I'll even show you their apartments, their houses. Because one of the things I did when I was like 16 to 18, or yeah, 16 to 18, was I used to deliver medicine, right? To different places if the people weren't able to get to the pharmacies. So I'd turn up and chat to people and talk to them and see what's going on and see how they were. And a lot of them were just all grandmas who, you know, just smoked way too much and would just live in their little apartments and wouldn't do anything. And then sometimes you had a kid who would open the door, they'd be butt naked, like there would be like 3 or 4 running around doing nothing. There'd be nothing in the kitchen, there'd be nothing on the floors. Everything would be bare. There'd be a TV in the corner of a room, there'd be a couch with 2 or maybe 1 wigged out parent who was on something. And that was it. That was their life. So when I see anything that can even promote or push towards that area from any part, even if it only affects 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, even if it's a small amount, I'm not interested. Because I've seen where that life leads. I've seen the other side of these things. It's awful. It's just like the whole like legalized drug stuff as well, man. Like one day what we'll do, as I said, is we'll go around, I'll show you a bunch of these things, and I'll show you where I'm from and why I think like I do. And you'll be horrified. But yeah. Just keep saying it doesn't matter, or just keep saying that, you know, it doesn't affect a lot of people, or just keep saying that it's not like a huge thing, or that it's fine to do because people like it. Just give it a rest. Then we have Stealth Cloud Chaser, 22141. Don't know what that is. Probably something to do with this. Then we have Carl Alex. Sexualization of minors certainly is bad. But maybe you should consider who you consider minors. Putting the age limit at 21 as in the US is insane. In Europe, 18 years old are usually considered adults with a right to have any kind of consensual sex with almost any other adults with few exceptions. And the age, right, okay, once again, this is not a legal thing, this is a morality thing. We've really got to, right, stop. This is another problem. Stop conflating the two. Right? Morality is not led by laws of a land. They're 2 separate systems. Right? Also, as we know, when it comes to a lot of the laws of the land, a lot of them are very archaic. And a lot of them, just like how society evolves over time, do not evolve with the society. Which is why, since I've been here, like in North America, people are having the exact same conversations about what laws to change as they did since I've been here over 10 years. And since I was born, they've been having the same conversations. There's also a lot of qualifiers when it comes to these things, such as if you are of a certain age, you are able to have sexual intercourse with people of a certain age and not higher. But once again, that is not the discussion here. It is not about legality of it. It is about your moral choice to either push it, advertise it, or support it. These are 2 very different things. And I'm sick of people trying to put them together. Okay? It is 2 separate ideas. Because once you start putting the law stuff in, then anything goes. If you want to dictate your morality by the laws of a country, you go ahead. But that's a really bad road to go down. Because that stuff can change quite rapidly, depending on what the information comes out. And also, it also means that, you know, you can agree with everything, and therefore you must think that all of these things are just, when a lot of them just aren't. Like, fuck. So yeah, be very careful with this idea. I understand that people like to conflate them, and that's fine, because it's used as a tactic to go, oh, well, you know, it's a goalpost thing, right? You go, oh, well, what is a miner, right? And then, oh, what is this and what is that? We all understand what is going on when it comes to these shows. We all understand what they're trying to do, okay? Let's not play dumb and try and hide behind laws or confusion on different sets, please. Alright, so then we have Daniel Coz. O2H, okay, like that, and run away. I have no idea what that means. Then we have Insane Robert. Hello, TEC. It's nice to see you stand against minor sexualization, even if it's anime. Well, I stand against any sexualization of minors. Or just, like, you know, sexualization of people in general who don't want to be sexualized. That's also a thing that isn't great either. But yeah, that's a different topic. I always found it weird. It seems dubious for War Thunder to join this mess. I know there's a lot of fans of this content, but it just doesn't make it right to do. Yeah, pretty much. On a different note, it's always pretty difficult for people who are looking young, though. Until 21, it was pretty hard for me to find a girlfriend because my face screamed, look at this 14 young innocent boy. Yeah, I get that. Like, I kind of had that issue, but once I opened my mouth, it was fine because I've always had a very deep voice. So, like, it wasn't as deep as it is now, but you know, it was usually I have like a baby face, you know, but which is why I have the beard. But most of the time, you know, I keep the beard, so it's not an issue. But yeah, I get that people get annoyed about that stuff, and yeah, it's really funny because even though I'm like 30 now, I still get ID'd if I get fucking if I go and like buy alcohol and shit if I shave my beard. It sucks. If I don't shave my beard, I don't get ID'd. So there you go. Hey Grant, nice to see you. Have you done or aware of the holiday decal mission? Pretty much play 3 missions. You know, rank 3 and up with Italy and Britain? Yeah. Yeah, I know that. Then we have Kinnenhausen. I will remove my War Thunder account if they added girls and Panzer in-game, or their ship counterpart let Wargame and do this type of collab and let War Thunder true be history. Well, I mean, yeah, fair enough. I wouldn't stop playing War Thunder if they did the collab. At the end of the day, you know, I think it's generally good to you know, have different things that, you know, people do together and can enjoy, you know, the same products. I just don't want people to lie about it, man. I don't want people to just sit there and just act as if, you know, there isn't that side of things, and to actually just obfuscate it and just decide, sorry, we don't have to chat about that, or oh yeah, it's happening, but we're not going to discuss it. That idea right there is one of the most dangerous ideas in the history of man, where you just let something happen because you don't want to rock the boat, or you don't want to annoy somebody, or whatever, and it's just very, very poor. Not a good thing. That's the end of the comments on the Tech Talk, though, so simple as. If you guys have any comments or anything, this would be a time to do it. There are 2 holiday things going on, the Italian Air Force and also the RAF. They both have their cool little badges, which is cool. Looks like they're going to do some badges this year, which I like.
Yeah, I think we might get flagged, Manuel. But what are you gonna do? The channel itself is set to mature, so it shouldn't really matter. How do I find the F-82? It's a fun vehicle to play. Like, you know, going after bombers and then diving down and being a support aircraft. I enjoyed it quite a lot when I spaded it. The Wasserfall? I have no idea what that is. I don't have any eggs, Peter the Great. I don't usually eat stuff like that because I blow up like a balloon, which kind of sucks. Alright, let's see. Yeah, it would have been nice if there was some news for April Fools. Instead, we got the vulnerability thing. Let's see. God, where is my thing? Oh, it's up there. Yeah, it's there. Sorry, I'm just I need to sort this out. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about some interesting topics when it comes to War Thunder. You bought Girls and Panzer movies to watch, not because of the minor stuff, but because of the only tank anime I knew. Oh no, I know, but like that's the thing. The thing, right? The thing about like all of these things, it's not the fact that whoever like engages with it or watches it or whatever, like is doing it to see underage girls, because you know I'm sure like there's a reason why, you know, pedophile rings and stuff like that get busted all the time, right? It's just the simple fact that it's a part of it that should not be part of it. It's an additional thing on top of it which doesn't need to exist in order to actually push forward the story. It is straight up fan service, and the fact that it is fan service should worry you. That's it. That's the whole bit right there. Nothing else. Why does that exist in that case? Should it exist? But why does it? Because it might not appeal to you, and it probably doesn't. But why is it appealing to other people? And why is it there? It makes no sense to be there, but it is. So, as I said, just think. It just sucks, man. Right, that's the end of the tech talk. So we're going to be continuing to do some naval stuff. We'll continue streaming. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Hopefully it cleaned up some stuff. You know, as always, I don't really mind going through all of the kind of, you know, I suppose ridiculous, or not ridiculous, but I suppose argumentative topics is the way to put it. But yeah, there's a lot of bad stuff out there. You got to be careful. See you next time. Peace be with you. Bye bye.